Not if you're a Bears fan, it's not. No, y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop. Nope, gotta stop. Relax. Relax, 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 relax. Things, and I know that this is uncomfortable for people, things take time sometimes. Like, things don't just happen
or
sometimes.
If you're thinking of doing your nails instead of, throwing a pass or something.
No.
By the way, I could care less. I just did that to bother you. Here's the thing.
And it does.
Here's the thing. When your offensive line just lets Minnesota just have their way with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that fourth quarter was amazing to watch. I watched it this morning, and the fact that suddenly Minnesota's defense was like, hey, we're going to get to the quarterback, and they did.
Yeah. I look, that game, in fairness, I haven't watched it in its entirety yet because Rob Brown forgot we had tickets to go see James Taylor last night, and James Taylor's one of my favorite artists of all time, so shut up. I went to see James Taylor. I love James Taylor. You've got a friend.
You're 47.
It is what it is. I don't know what you want. I grew up with my dad's music. My dad's music stuck on me. He's 77, by the way.
All right, by the way, I'm not being critical of you liking James Taylor.
I love James Taylor.
I'm being critical of you forgetting that you had tickets for James Taylor.
Okay.
But you've talked about so much how much you love James Taylor. You've worn a James Taylor t-shirt.
I wore the Red Sox hat today for James Taylor.
Yeah. And you forgot that you had tickets. So, I saw a post from your wife, and I'm like, okay, she's at that concert. I wonder if he's there.
Yeah, I totally was. In fairness, the tickets came from a friend of ours. Dad bought her and her husband and them tickets.
Ain't it good to know that you got a friend?
And she last week came over on Tuesday to bring the wife coffee and a birthday gift. And she's like, oh, BT Dubs. She's like, Rob Brown, don't you like James Taylor? I was like, I freaking love James Taylor. Like, he is genuinely like a top 3 artist for me all time. I love James Taylor as a singer-songwriter performer. And she's like, okay, well, Pop's got us a bunch of extra tickets. Do you guys want to go with us? Like, they're free. You can just have them. We're like, yeah. And then I got excited about it for like 3 days. And then football happened. And when I tell y'all that, like, football wipes my brain, the wife, like, she understands when we started dating, because we were both 35 years old, we'd be like, yo, red flags on the table out of the gate, right? Like, let's not waste time. Red flags on the table. And the biggest one for me is I watch a lot of sports. And whatever you think is a lot, triple that and then add it again. And that's what I watch. Like, whatever you think is too much sports, it's 3 times that. That's how much sports I watch. And even knowing that, there were still many times where she'd be like, dude, seriously, more football? And I'm like, yeah, and I got bad news about tomorrow too, right? And this was kind of a thing for us. So she has, over the years, had to adapt, though it's not always easy. She has had to adapt to the understanding that, oh, it's football weekend. I'm useless. As a human being, I'm useless. So we got these tickets. I was super pumped about it. And then football happened over the weekend. Just blanked. I just completely blanked and forgot that we had James Taylor tickets. So yesterday, went home, did some stuff, did a couple of interviews, and she gets home at like 4:45, and I'm in my lounge clothes, man. I'm in my Chris Paul New Orleans Pelicans jersey and basketball shorts, and she's like, "Yeah, you're not going like that." I was like, going where? It is 4:30 on Monday. My day's over, dude. I have been awake for 13 hours. My day's done. Go where? She said, we're going to see James Taylor. And I went, yeah, that's right, we are. And she goes, you're not going to miss football, are you? I was like, not tonight. Not for James Taylor. I'll check it out. So I did get home. I kind of breezed through it on the catch up on key plays feature on YouTube TV. I got to breeze back through that and watched it. It is not as bad as Bears fans are making it out to be. And it is not as good, although J.J. McCarthy was a stud in the fourth quarter, it's not as good as Vikings fans are making it out to be.
Here's the problem. They can't beat anybody in their division. I heard them talking about it earlier. They're like 2-15 or something like that.
Yeah, 6-game home losing streak. It's the longest since like 2015.
So everyone in that division is their daddy, apparently.
I don't disagree, but at the same time, what do we like? Did we just expect? Oh, Ben Johnson's here. We're kings of the North now.
Some people, from the media attention and how excited people seem to be,
You don't know ball.
Yeah, well, apparently the people on ESPN and other places don't either, because that's where I heard all the hype from. It's like, oh, he's going to solve the problem. It was never Caleb Williams' problem. It was definitely the coaching staff.
Look, I think that, and this I watched this play out in real time last night, because I caught up through key plays. Then I watched the last 3.5, 4 minutes of the game. And then I watched a little bit more of it this morning, because I do think the Bears are kind of an interesting case study this year. I am intrigued in watching how this team develops this year. So first and foremost, and I do not wish to be disparaging, though perhaps I shall right out of the gate. I think we all have to acknowledge now, and this hit me, I don't remember if it was, I guess it was last week. In fact, I know it was. It was last Thursday or Friday when Ryan Clark said, Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Peyton Manning aren't generational quarterbacks.
Wow, you're actually making fun of his. Okay.
That's a dumb take, dude. You get, when you say a dumb thing, you get the dumb voice representation.
It's your guy, though.
I know. I've always liked Ryan Clark. But Ryan Clark jumped the shark to me last week. The Fonz to me. He jumped the shark last week. Kids, if you've heard the phrase jump the shark, it comes from a 1970s show called Happy Days.
What are you going to do?
I'm just owning it now. Called Happy Days, where Arthur Fonzarelli, a.k.a. The Fonz, was the coolest guy in the history of TV. Hey, and this show was an American phenomenon, and it just kept going and going and going, directed by Ron Howard, starring Ron Howard. Great show. I actually watched a lot of Happy Days as a kid because, I wanted to be the Fonz.
Mr. Coach Klein.
Mr. Coach Klein.
It's him, except he's cool.
He's cool. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. A large part of the reason that Rob Brown wanted a motorcycle and has one now was because even like as a Ute, Gianna, even as a Ute, I'm like, yo, Fonz, like that dude's pretty cool. Hey, the jukebox is broken. Hey, and it starts playing music.
He did that to an entire building once, which was amazing.
Yeah. So the Fonz was awesome, and then the show was awesome, and then one day they did an episode where they went to the beach, and the Fonz was water skiing, and as he's water skiing, there's like a shark, and the Fonz, as he's approaching the shark, is like, oh, I'm the Fonz. I got to do something cool about this shark. And he literally hit a ramp and jumped over the shark. And Happy Days sucked after that. Like, consensus, Happy Days sucked after that. So that's where the phrase jumping the shark comes from. There, you'll know something.
I thought jumping the shark was planned, but he was wearing his leather jacket while
water skiing.
Yes.
Which, even if you're the Fonz,
yeah, that was too much.
That's too much.
It was.
Even if you're the Fonz, that's too much. So, blah, blah, blah. To circle back around to where we were.
By the way, that show really went downhill when Ron Howard left.
I don't disagree, which was around the time that the Fonz jumped the shark. Yeah, like it all kind of, anyway, blah, blah, blah. There's your history lesson for the day. Brought to you by the random and entire amount of bull that's in my head most of the time.
Bro?
That's just ADHD is with it. You know what this whole show is? It's the ADHD sports show. All right. If you haven't gotten used to it by now, I don't know what to tell you. So
I'm not random at all.
Not even a little bit. So this game last night, I went back, I rewatched it, I checked in. I watched it a little bit more this morning. The first thing we have to acknowledge is that ESPN has, in my opinion, jumped the shark, because it is more about the E than the S now. And I've said that before, but I've always kind of like, yeah, I say that, but like they have Shams and they had Woj and they have Shefty and they have all these guys and like they're breaking the news and they're doing this, that, and the other. And last week when Ryan Clark, in order to trend and go viral, and I guess mission accomplished, in order to trend and go viral, because this is globally panned as a dumbass take, not a bad take, just escalated fully to dumbassery. said, oh, there's not as many generational quarterbacks as you think there are. John Elway was one. Not Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees. Those guys weren't generational, but and I love John Elway, but like John Elway was, but those guys aren't.
You also said Patrick Mahomes.
And Patrick Mahomes, fine. I agree. Patrick Mahomes is. Josh Allen is. Lamar Jackson is. But with all of that being said, that was a pivotal moment for me when I realized, because I defended Ryan Clark for a very long time as a guy who maybe doesn't have very popular opinions, but I think a lot of them pan out. And I think that I think that he's not been as bad as he's been made to be. But I heard that and I was like, oh, okay, so you just want to go viral now. Got it. Checks out. All right, cool. Understand it. Don't get me wrong. It is part of the job. But I have had, and maybe this is me, maybe I'm just an idiot who doesn't get it, but I've had this belief for a very long time that you should be able to go viral with good takes. You should be able to go viral for knowing ball. You should be popular because you know ball. And so when I hear that, I'm like, oh, even Ryan Clark's got to do it now, right? I think we're toast. I don't think Ryan Clark for a second genuinely believes Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl winner,
in my opinion, he's been doing stuff to go viral for a really long time.
That's fair, but again, I've been willing to give him some leeway, and now I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, you're one of them too. I get it, but blah blah blah. The point here is, I don't really care all that much about what the talking heads on ESPN say about football teams anymore. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore because of takes like that. Clearly, you're not giving us your genuine take on what football teams are. You're giving us a take designed to get you clicks on social media. That's the whole entire game now. And then you add on to the fact that Shefty, Shams, whatever, they're all making $2, $3, $4, $5 million to tweet out the breaking news, and that's great. You understand how easy it is to do when that network owns the gosh darn league? Yeah, of course Shefty gets it first. His network owns the league, or the league owns his network, whatever case you want to put it. Of course Shefty gets to put it out first, right? Jay Glazer, when all that news went down, Jay Glazer had to be pooping his pants. What the hell am I going to do now? Those guys are calling Shefty to say, hey, man, breaking news. Here you go. Go ahead and get the tweet ready, right? So I don't care what the talking heads say anymore. There's across the entire ESPN family, there's 2 or 3 guys that I still care about and listen to. I like Peter Burns a lot. And I think Peter would even admit this from the SEC Network, buddy of the show. I think even Peter would acknowledge he's on the SEC Network. He's a bit of a homer, but he's on the SEC Network. I'm not going to go to the SEC Network to get my unbiased take on what's happening. There's 2 or 3 guys on that network that I'm like, okay, that's a good take. Shockingly, you know who's on that list right now? Shockingly, Rex Ryan has had some good takes this week that have popped up on my feed. We're going to come to that in a minute because
I was surprised he still existed. I hadn't seen him for a while, and then he came out with that tan.
Yeah, but also I'm going to go ahead and say I think Rex Ryan is angling himself to get back into the league a little bit, and we're going to talk about that later on. But the blah blah blah. The point is,
I wonder where he wants to go.
You're right. He set himself up for it yesterday. We'll talk about that. So, with all of that being said, there's not a lot of guys on that network or gals on that network. Like Mina Kimes, I still respect Mina Kimes. I think she's great. I also have watched as Mina Kimes has been relegated further and further and further down the list of where ESPN puts her because she's not a hot take artist. She just hasn't been, and from what I can tell, and I hope I'm never proven wrong, refuses to be one. I think Mina Kimes said, even if you don't agree with the takes, they're not she's clearly trying to get attention. Now, she'll put herself on any show she can get on, which, yeah, me too, I get it. But, not hot takey. Blah, blah, blah. Point of all that is, I don't really go with what that network has to say. So, when I listen to, in the preseason, guys and gals on that net go, oh, Ben Johnson's there. Caleb Williams is going to be a dog. Oh, this team's going to... No, they're not. No, they're not. They will be more competitive than they have been the last couple of years. And, oh, by the way, let's not pretend it didn't take the greatest, let me finish before you jump down my throat here, the greatest rookie fourth quarter ever played. as he is the only rookie responsible for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of a game. And also, by the way, the Bears' offensive line fell apart. Like, I looked at that. There were some spots where it looked like Caleb Williams was over his head a little bit. I'm not gonna push back on that. There were some spots he looked like he just wasn't there yet. But again, what's been the mantra of Rob Brown for like the past 2 seasons about young quarterbacks? For the love of the football gods, can we please go back to putting the emphasis in the word the phrase franchise quarterback on franchise as much as we put it on quarterback? How is it? Guys get drafted in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. Do you know what that says about the teams that draft them? They suck. They suck. These guys aren't going as 1, 2, 3, 4 overall picks to good football teams. They suck. And people like expect they're just going to show up and, football Jesus has resurrected the Bears. No!
He's not a rookie, by the way. So
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
Here's what I am saying. He was coached by Matt Eberflus.
And now he's coached by Ben Johnson. It doesn't seem to make a difference.
Do you think he did not look better last night? Because yes, he did.
He is going to have a very long season, and he's going to get all the blame if they can't shore up their
I don't
offensive
disagree.
line.
That's the part I'm complaining about.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm complaining about.
When he had time, he looked pretty good.
I think the people who watched that game.
Here's what I saw beginning in the fourth quarter. It looked like Chicago ran out of gas.
Yes.
And that is not good.
Yes.
That's coaching staff right there. That means they're not conditioned enough to handle a fourth quarter like that. And that's kind of sad.
I'm not disagreeing. And listen, there were some spots last night. Like I said, I'm not absolving him of blame for what happened last night. That offensive line down the stretch looked like it was just gas. And maybe this is on Ben Johnson for not having a great conditioning program or whatever, right? Like maybe that's on him. But I will also point out it's his first year as a head coach. Like who's expecting him to be perfect? This is kind of why I say like I am out on the people who were in on the Bears as contenders for the division.
He's there to fix it, man. Why isn't it fixed?
Correct. But like exactly the point. There is, and I mean this, nothing more frustrating to me in sports. Nothing more frustrating in sports to me, with the exception of getting the whole guy. There's nothing more frustrating in sports to me than fans who just think like, oh, this guy's here. We're winning the Super Bowl now. No, you're not. Your team sucked. That's why you got a guy at number 1, because you sucked. And there's no such thing as a worst to first in the NFL. You can do it in the division, but you can't go worst to first in the NFL. It's going to take time.
Andy Reid kind of turns things around pretty
Were
quick.
you guys worst to first when Reid got there?
We weren't worst.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you were in the middle of the pack, and then you elevated to the top. Let's see if we can get the Bears from the dregs of society to the middle of the pack. That's all they're asking for. Anybody asking for more than that, I don't know what to tell you. And if you hung that loss on Caleb Williams last night,
Let me tell you, you don't know ball.
You don't know ball. Yeah, I'm not saying he looked great. He threw a hospital ball that got DJ Moore sent to the morgue last night. However, he also threw 3 or 4 that I was like, there it is. There's that number 1 overall pick flash. It's in there. Now you just got to further develop the offense. And by the way, we're not going to pretend like he wasn't getting his ass kicked last night behind that line, running for his life. Stop it. NFL fans are frustrating as hell sometimes, dude. All right, let's take a break. I don't want to be frustrated as hell today, dude. I want to have a good time. So let's have a good time. We'll talk about that game. We're going to continue to react now that we've put some time between us and the football weekend in the rearview mirror. All that more coming up on the Rob Brown Show. What's your name, dude? I don't want to be stressed, dude. All right, let's all chill, bro. Take a chill pill, dude. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Let's go. Good morning, Joe. Welcome in, big dog. Good to have you, brother. Taco Tuesday it is. I actually had that thought on the way to work today. I passed a Mexican joint because I'm going a different way to work now. Because I figured out I can stop spending $10 a day on Monster and I can do $2 a day from the Quick Trip ball game. So I go a different way. Same length. I just pass a QT now. Shout out QT. And anyway, I was driving in this morning and I passed a taco joint, a Mexican joint. And my brain went, oh, we're having Mexican tonight. No football on tonight? We're having Mexican.
This is not being critical, but I've never thought of a place as a joint. And I don't know. I don't know if that's where I grew up. I've only
a term.
No, I get it. I'm not being critical. I've just never thought of it that way.
A joint's a go-to. It's like calling the house a crib.
I've never went that. No, it's not. I mean, the crib thing I get, but I never go, hey, you guys want to go to a pizza joint?
Yeah, that is how I say it.
Yeah, but
it's all joints to me.
You're the only one that I know personally.
There's no way.
You're the only one I know personally throughout my life.
Well, that's because I'm younger and cooler than all your friends.
Yeah, I would hit that year 47 thing.
BRB.
Yawn technically is taking in a deep breath.
No, I don't. Again, like mouth breather just means you're somebody who's like. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. I think that we said this last Monday after week one of the college football season, because there was last Tuesday after week one of the college football season. There is a disturbing lack of patience with sports fans. And It's wildly frustrating. Now, I get why. I've said this before. It's been poo-pooed many a time, but I'm not wrong. And I'll be morbid for just a minute to drive the point home because emphasis not necessarily needed, but wanted. I'm saying this in the second segment because my mom's not listening yet. The men in my family, we either die at 100 or 55. And there's no in between. Like the guys in my family on my dad's side, we're either toast at 55 or we live to 100. And it's pretty much a coin flip as to which of those two groups you're in. Realistically speaking, my dad passed in his mid 50s, right? So I'm really kind of hoping it skips a generation. We'll see. But theoretically, if I'm going to kick the bucket at 55, I got 15 football seasons left. Right? Like 15 in my life. I got 15 more football seasons. If you live the average life of an American right now, which is, I believe, 79. Last I checked, I think the average lifespan is 79. And dropping, by the way, we're doing great. 79 right now. If you live the average lifespan, assuming that you take, let's say, 10 years for the sake of Rob sucks at math. If you take 10 years to really develop into your sports fandom, you have on average 69 nice seasons as a football fan.
All right. As of 2023, so I guess they didn't do this last year, it was 78.39 years.
All right, so I'm not far off. Let's say 78.
Yeah, I mean, if you round up.
Let's say 78. Let's say 79 because then I get to say takes you 10 years, 69. Nice. You have 69 football seasons in your life, the average American does. And let's keep it a buck. We have no idea what tomorrow holds. Any of us could get popped by a bus today. All right? I don't want it.
That's a little specific. Why bus?
Well, I think getting hit by a bus is like the go-to example of it could all end at any moment. I had this thing last night. I'm going to get introspective for just a moment. I've seen James Taylor. I love James Taylor. I've seen James Taylor. I counted last night. I've seen James Taylor 9 times in my life. And James Taylor's 77 years old. And last night was the first time that I was like, Gramps is getting old. I love him to death. I'll go see. That man could be rolled out there in a wheelchair and have to have somebody else play guitar because he can't do it anymore. And I would still go see James Taylor because I love him. But last night was the first time I was like, I was texting my family because I grew up with James Taylor because of my mom. So I was like, hey mom, seeing James Taylor again. And I was like, he's 77 and he looks and sounds 77. Like he used to have that when he hit like Steamroller. Steamroller, baby. Like he used to have that like.
Dude, when he was 30, he looked like he was 55.
Oh, 100%.
So I mean.
But also, when he was 50, he looked like he did when he was 30. So whatever. Point is, last night was a night that I kind of had this I don't want to say existential. I don't think it was that. I think it was kind of like my Ted Lasso moment where about 2 songs in, like he went straight to the hits too. Like right out of the gate, he's playing the hits. So about a song or 2 in, I kind of sunk back in the chair and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to dial in on this, commit this to memory because realistically speaking, as I have seen James Taylor about once every 3 years or so, 2.5 to 3 years on average, he comes somewhere that I am. There's a very good chance this might be my last James Taylor show, right? And I wanted to be present in that moment and be able to dial in and say, like, if I never get to see James Taylor again, that I was, pardon the expression, present in that moment. Because if he never comes back or fingers crossed, long live James Taylor. I hope he lives forever. But like he won't because no one does. If I never get to see James Taylor again, I wanted to say the last time I saw James Taylor in Simpsonville, South Carolina, like I took it in. So here's the point. We as football fans recognize we have limited football seasons. The average amongst us, if you say you come online as a fan at 10, have 69 football seasons, which means that every season is like a solid 1.5% of your football life that you will get to enjoy. So we as fans, if we know our team, as I have many years as a Saints fan, if we know our team is going to stink, especially if the team is going to stink because of decisions being made by suits in the front office and not football guys. The reason we have no patience is because every year that our team stinks because of bad decision making, that's one more year closer to death, man. That's one less football season where I get to enjoy maybe my team has a shot this year. So when it comes to the Bears, and I kind of get where it's coming from. You hire Ben Johnson, you got a first overall draft pick in Caleb Williams. You went and you built a wide receiver core. You got DJ Moore out of Carolina. You got Rome Odunze from Washington. You got dudes. You got DeAndre Swift, good pass catching back out of the backfield. You got some tight ends. And you thought you put together a pretty good offensive line. Question mark after last night. But the point is, you built a team. However, 2 years ago, Bears fans wanted Eberflus gone. 2 years ago, they wanted him gone. Last year, everybody wanted him gone. And last year, even I, who does not care at all about the Chicago Bears, even I was like, if you don't move on from this guy, because what happens, as we have been finding out over the last couple of years, what happens when you make a young quarterback spend a year or two or, God forbid, 3 years under a coach who clearly doesn't get him? Whether it's the coach's fault or not, just can't connect with that guy, can't get it right for that guy. You ruin the quarterback, the coach can't do anything, and the franchise, if you're not stepping forward, are stepping backwards. There is no remaining neutral. You're either getting better or you're getting past. That's it, right? It's like a NASCAR race. You're either moving up in the pack or you're moving back in the pack. That's how it works. So you have Caleb Williams paired up with Matt Eberflus, who clearly just didn't get it. And I'm not, maybe Matt Eberflus really would be a good head coach, but he just didn't have it in Chicago. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He wasn't the guy for that job in that city with that franchise at that time. And the McCaskies, the owners of the Chicago Bears, much like Dave Tepper for a very long time, and maybe he still is, we're just not seeing it, we don't know. But much like Tepper was in a very forward-facing role for a long time, keep putting their fingers all over the franchise instead of letting football dudes make decisions. Hey, that's known in Chicago. A lot of my BetMGM Network friends are based in Chicago. I have these conversations with them away from the air, and they all have the same take. So I understand that if you're a fan and you go, look, if the Bears stink this year, if I'm a Bears guy, I'm a Saints guy. If the Bears stink this year, if the Saints stink this year, that is 1.5-ish%. And if I live to be the same age as my dad, if I pass at the same age my dad was, I have less than 15 football seasons left in my life. And if I have less than 15 football seasons left in my life, I'd like for my team not to suck booty cheeks for 1 or 2 of them. Because now we're talking about any given season. For me, at this point, because I said full lifetime, when I get to even if I live to the average age, I got 33 football seasons left, y'all. Every season is 3% of what I have left So if my team stinks, now I have 32 seasons left if I live to be average. So I get it, but
this show started out so positive, and now look what you've done.
The point here, to circle back around to where I started, is I understand the lack of patience from fans. You want your team to get it right and get it right now, because I don't have that many seasons in me. Nobody does. We don't live long. So I get where the impatience comes from. But at the same time, much like anything else in your life, fixing a catastrophic problem, and the Bears were that, is not an overnight thing. Clemson fans, fixing the offense I saw against LSU is not an overnight thing. That's not something that you just go out there and you have one or two good practices and it's all fixed. Like, that's going to take some time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, but having a team like Troy the next week, that would help you fix that offense.
Exactly right. Like, it should take it would take time, and you would like to think.
I was being sarcastic.
I know, but at the same time, it plays into the point. Like, you would like to think a week, because I would also argue that there's a difference between proven head coach Dabo Swinney, long multiple year starter Cade Klubnik, Heisman Trophy short guy Cade Klubnik, versus Caleb Williams, yes, a number 1 overall draft pick, but a guy who got paired up with Matt Eberflus in the trash can that is the Chicago Bears organization till this year. Ben Johnson is not Gandalf the White of football. He's not going to show up, snap his fingers, and everything fixes itself. It's going to take time. The Bears weren't as bad as you think they were last night, and the Vikings weren't as good as you thought they were last night. But if you want to go viral on the internet, you got to overreact. So here we are, reacting to clowns. Again. Yeah. The Roger Goodell sounder. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Be right back, guys. Stay right there for me. You did get out coached. But, again, it takes time. Be right back.
I get your complaint, but at the same time, it's not a bad thing.
No, I get it. I would watch that interview. J. Jonah Jameson interviewing Lex Luthor. I'll do it. Please do it. Please do it.
I love that account.
Oh, dude, that's so good. First official DCU MCU crossover event.
It's okay to dislike another team, Cruz. I dislike quite a few.
I'm a Saints fan. I get it.
You can dislike a team just because you don't like their uniforms. It's sports. It's okay.
I want to float something by you guys and get your thoughts on it. On the final episode of Bet for the Cycle, last Saturday, we were making our NFL preseason prognostications as it kicked off a week before the NFL season started. So we wanted to do some NFL talk on our way out. And one of the conversations that we had was a futures bet on first coach to be fired this season. And the overwhelming favorite was already, and now it is even shorter odds, Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And so the conversation kind of steered into a conversation we've had on this show in the past, which is there is no right or wrong way to act as a head coach. The only right or wrong thing is, do you win or do you not? And I think that we're getting a crash course in that right now. When Mike McDaniel showed up with the Miami Dolphins, and I am talking about this for a reason, because I also think that, as mentioned, this conversation strikes dangerously close to Dabo Swinney right now as well, right? Because I've said a few times in the offseason, this year to me feels like a referendum on the Dabo Swinney philosophy. Does it still work? Can it still work in college football in 2025? And this year, after the last couple of years, with the class he has this year, with the talent he has on the roster, with the ACC being what it is, if it doesn't work this year, then I think I will, if no one else does, I will be at a point where I go, the Dabo way doesn't work anymore. Like, you have to play by the modern rules of college football. You just can't do it the old way anymore and be successful. Because if Dabo Swinney can't do it, it can't be done. So, I have also said on this show and others that Dabo Swinney is, outside of the upstate of South Carolina, viewed as kind of a yokel, kind of a joke, right? But the point I've made to Clemson fans for years is, who the hell cares? It doesn't matter. It does not matter how people in New York or Minnesota or California or Florida or Texas or Georgia feel about Dabo. All that matters is, how do the dudes that put on helmets on Saturdays in Clemson, South Carolina feel about him? And how do the fans who buy tickets to be in Death Valley on Saturdays feel about him? That's all that matters. But the first guy off the bus, first guy standing next to Howard's Rock, always running down the hill way out front of his football team at a full sprint, like, that's laughed at by the rest of the country. Again, doesn't matter if you're winning natties, but you're not winning natties. And not only are you not winning natties, but you were a top 3 or 4, depending on the book, shortest odds to win the natty this year. You got beat in your own house by a top 3 team, and you look like crap against Troy this past weekend. So I think we're getting this really interesting crash course in both the NFL and college football about where personality versus success matters. And the answer is personality ranks a distant second place to level of success for coaches. Mike McDaniel, after the Dolphins got thoroughly humiliated this weekend, Mike McDaniel took to the podium for his post-game press conference. I'm going to play you 2 clips from that, and then I want to make my point. First and foremost, here's how, this is real, Mike McDaniel opened his press conference.
I would say the good news and the positive is I don't see how it could be worse. And I also believe in the coaches and players to get it fixed. I'll call it what it is. It was, embarrassing, not anything that paying fans sign up for.
I guess the good news is it can't get any worse. No, Mike, that's not good news. There's sports fans are not going to accept you trying to spin us being at the bottom of the league and the only team in the NFL who got flat out and thoroughly embarrassed. And nobody else got embarrassed in week 1. I don't know if you think the Giants got embarrassed by the Commanders the way that the Dolphins got embarrassed by the Colts. Nobody got embarrassed.
I'm just saying he's kind of right, though. I mean, I get what you're saying, but he's kind of right. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying.
He is right in that it can't get worse. He's not right in that that's good news. No, it's not.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't say
that's
that.
That's not good news.
Yeah.
That's bad news. That's a bad thing, Mike. And then he talked about Tua Tagovailoa.
You have people coming out the huddle the wrong way when they had been nailing it for a week on a week plus, really, stuff we've been working on. So, it's like the rest of the team, I would say, but definitely not all on him at all. There's too many people that failed at their execution of their jobs for him to even have any extra on his shoulders.
So when I listen to those 2 clips from Mike McDaniel, it is so, I don't know, it's startling almost. The difference in Mike McDaniel when he got hired to where Mike McDaniel is now. When he got hired, he was this wonder kid, right? Like he was this prodigy. And he was weird. And he was weird. And we loved him for it. Well, I loved him for it. I loved Mike being a weirdo. I liked Mike sprinting away from reporters after doing the halftime interview. I know he's not supposed to, and I know it's a bad look, and I know those of you with kids are going to poo-poo this. I thought Mike trying to hide his vape pen behind his play calling sheet in game, as if there's not cameras in every conceivable spot in that stadium, was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. All right? Frowned upon, sure. Hilarious nonetheless. The Mike McDaniel, who showed up and didn't just take the playoff, didn't just take the Dolphins to the playoffs in his first 2 years back to back, but also had one of the top 2 offenses in the league in back-to-back years. To see what has happened now kind of proves the point in that when he was a coach that went to the playoffs in back-to-back years, had one of the top offenses in the NFL in back-to-back years, and everything was high, this like weird comic book loving nerd routine was kind of endearing. And now that this team stinks and they got embarrassed, now all of the sudden, I got everybody and their mama with a microphone beating the hell out of this guy. What a weirdo, what a loser, what a nerd, what a clown. Nobody. And here's the part that I'm genuinely curious as to where y'all land on it. It fits into that conversation that we've had about Dabo Swinney. It doesn't matter what the opinion of your coach and his personality and his language and his behavior and his actions is if you win. I can say that about Nick Saban. Nick Saban was, when he was the head coach at the University of Alabama, a jerk. He was a jerk. But Bama fans went, yeah, but he's our jerk. I met Nick Saban a few times when I was working down in Florida. And I think I've told the story. In fact, I know I've told the story before. Met him at UWF. He was a jerk till he found out that I was broadcasting on a network that ranged from east of Panama City, Florida to west of Mobile, Alabama. The entire Florida panhandle and the entire Alabama panhandle. I was on 2 shows a day in the sports talkosphere. I was the only high school guy in the area, which meant I had access to every high school in that market. And when Nick Saban found that out, oh my goodness, all of a sudden I was his totes BFF because I could pimp Alabama out on that station. When he found out I had something to give, then he was the nicest guy. Before that, he was a jerk. But here's the thing. It didn't matter. Didn't matter if I thought he was a jerk. Didn't matter if people in the industry were calling him the Nick-tator because he's a dictator named Nick. Like, none of that mattered because he was winning. And if he's winning, all the rest of that stuff goes away. That's kind of where I think we are with a guy like Dabo Swinney. All of the stubbornness, all of the conservativeness as far as I'm going to keep everything the way it is and I don't want things to change around here, all of that is fine when you're competing for national championships and winning one every 2 or 3 years. But when you're not doing that, and you're not doing that in the ACC, when the ACC is down, then all of a sudden, all that stuff's not as endearing anymore. None of that stuff is as, oh, that's our guy. That's our Dabo.
See, this is not what I'm hearing from McDaniel. It sounds to me like he knows he's getting fired.
I don't disagree. He sounds like a beaten man.
He sounds defeated. He is unable to find the words that he needs. And he's just like, you know, when you've never experienced this before, probably, but before I moved here nearly 30 years ago, every place I worked went out of business. And there is nothing like sticking it out till the end of the thing. There's no pause. There's nothing you can do. You know, tomorrow your job is gone. But in order to get severance, you got to stay until that last day. You're not doing anything. You're sitting there looking around at empty. In the last case where it happened was a big warehouse store where we took even the metal down inside the building. So you're sitting inside a huge building and you know tomorrow you don't have a job, but in order to get the money, you got to stay till tomorrow. That's what he looks like to me. He knows he's going to lose his job. He knows he can't fix this, but he's sticking around so he gets paid.
I agree with all of that. But I would add on to it that as I listened to Rex Ryan talked about him yesterday, and like 3 or 4 dudes on different podcasts I listened to were talking about it yesterday. And man, when they talk about this guy, it's like personal now, right? It's not like, oh, Mike McDaniel, it's not going great in Miami. He needs to rejuvenate this or fix that or work on the offensive line, develop Tua Tagovailoa, change Tyreek's attitude. None of that. Oh, it's what a weirdo, what a loser, what a nerd, what a dork. Yesterday, there was something that came up for a while, and here's the take I've had. When Mike McDaniel got there, Mike McDaniel is not the guy that you would think because football locker rooms are one of those places where like there's no progressive thinking when it comes to what's going on in a locker room unless you're winning, right? So Mike McDaniel walks in, not a guy that you would say is going to walk in as a head coach and command the locker room. But when he showed up and he produces with his head the top offense in the league for 2 years in a row, goes to the playoff 2 years in a row. Everything was fine. The guys loved him. The minute they started losing, now the thought is nobody in that locker room respects him. Nobody in that locker room respects him as a leader, as a coach, whatever. Nobody respects this. And because of that complete entire lack of respect, the team is falling apart. And the thing is, I don't know that that's wrong. I don't. But it is definitely an illustration on what can happen if you don't win. All of a sudden, a personality that used to be this endearing, loving thing, lovable thing, ain't no more. And I'm worried if that's kind of what's happening in Clemson, South Carolina. Let's take a break. When we come back, water cooler cheat sheet. We got your top 3 sports stories. And in the next hour, we hand out the first 2025 TMFINR awards. Don't know what that is? Stick around, find out. Here's Lonzo with a sports flash.
The first game of the J.J. McCarthy era is in Minnesota, ended in a come-from-behind victory over division rival Chicago 27-24 last night. McCarthy had only 48 first-half passing yards and a pass picked for a touchdown early in the third quarter, but rallied down the stretch to go 13-20 for 143 yards and 2 passing and 1 rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to do so. The Atlanta Braves took game 1 at home against the Cubs yesterday 4-1. Bryce Elder picked up his 9th win of the year, giving up 5 hits and just 1 run in 6.1 innings, striking out 6. Atlanta had 7 hits on the night, including Matt Olson's 23rd home run and Ozzie Albies 16th. The 49ers announced 2 major injuries yesterday. Tight end George Kittle will miss multiple weeks as he battles a hamstring. Joining him could be starting quarterback Brock Purdy, who is dealing with shoulder and toe injuries. Not good if you're a 49ers fan.
Sucker! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show. is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
You know what I love? I love on the podcast. That's all you hear is you saying that.
Sucker. I need to get off the internet. And I know that now. Let me tell you what just happened during the break. Then we're going to get to the water cooler cheat sheet. Some of you will appreciate this story. Some of you will judge me as a person. I deserve both. I'm looking up because Zoe and I we have a, it's out of frame on the stream if you're watching, but we have a TV up here that's between us. And usually we put it on SportsCenter in the morning. So we have it on SportsCenter, and at the rollover, top of the hour, they roll over and they basically replay SportsCenter again. But usually when they do the send off for SportsCenter, it's something kind of cash by the anchors. Well, this morning, Nicole Briscoe is hosting SportsCenter, and they have her and the guy who's hosting with her, whose name I apologize, I am blanking on right now. But Nicole Briscoe is hosting, and to end that hour of SportsCenter, they have Nicole and the anchor, the other guy that's anchoring with her, sitting on a couch. Which, all right, cool, fine, whatever, that's great. It's very podcasty. I get it. Everybody does a podcast now. You do it on a big, comfy couch. I get it. So they have her sitting on a couch, and they're just super casual, relaxed, right? Like Nicole's leaned against the side of the couch, and she's got her legs up, propped up on the couch. And she has a pillow conveniently covering her feet. And the only thought I thought was, she knows how the internet works. She knows good and gosh darn well that if she had her feet propped up on the couch without them being covered up, there would be a million CSI Miami enhance photos of her feet on the internet. And hey, man, if you're going to show the puppies off on the internet, you might as well get paid $9.99 a month for them. All right.
I don't know if I would have used that word.
Well, I know that word was co-opted by Jerry the King Lawler back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's popular to say the puppies are barking.
Is it
feet
possible that her feet are ugly? I mean, I know what you're saying.
She's very attractive lady.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have ugly feet.
I don't disagree, but I would be willing to take the bet. And you know me, I hate feet. All right, I don't hate feet. I have feet.
If he
I'm
could
a big fan
detach
of
them from his body, he would.
There's absolutely nothing sexual about feet to me. All right, I don't get it. Again, live your life. If that's your thing, hell yeah, do your thing. I'm not here to judge. If that gets you off, have at it, buddy. Go bananas. Rex Ryan, enjoy your life. I'm not here to judge. Okay, everybody's got their things.
Oh, wait a minute.
I respect that.
Wait a minute. Now we know the real reason. Because Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan works there.
He's in the building.
Yeah, Rex Ryan works there.
He's tanned up and ready to go.
Yeah, Rex Ryan works there. I get it now. No, it's a problem. I think I need to take a break from the internet. That the immediate thought I have was not, she's comfy, cozy on the couch, laid out, being cash, whatever. The immediate thought I had was, hey, she knows she can get $9.99 a month to put those feet on the internet from everybody, and she knows better.
I'm glad I can't see your feed, because if that's the kind of stuff that's popping up on your feed, I don't.
No, it's not. That's the thing. Again, Rob Brown is very anti feet in that manner.
Okay, all right.
So you walk up in here in slides, and I'm like, dude, keep your feet on the floor where they belong.
I don't have my shoes on right now, but that's not. But here's the thing, though. I don't know why. In this case, I get why she's hiding her feet, but for the most part, when I walk around anywhere, I don't look at people's feet because I don't care about your feet. I don't care what you're wearing on your feet. I don't care if you got shoes on, boots on, whatever. It's your feet, because I don't think about feet that way. I know feet are necessary to walk.
Again, I don't either. But at the same time, I have.
You know what, Rob Brown. And I say that way on purpose. I have no idea what you're wearing on your feet today. You know why? Because I don't look at your feet.
Again,
because I don't care.
I get it. But that's you. That's you. Let me put it this way. On Sunday, NFL Sunday, we're back. I put up a picture as thinking it's not a big deal. I have the Bro Cave setup going. Right, I have 4 games up on the 75-inch. I got a TV on the wall with 2 games, and then I've got 2 laptops going with games on those as well. And they're on the 2 walls, so I'm facing the corner, and I have my feet propped up on my ottoman thing. Take a picture of it, and I'm like, "We're so back, baby." I got 6 messages, all from friends being silly, like having a go at me, right?
As far as you know.
As far as I know, including 3 women who were like, "You're just going to post those for free on the internet? LOL. Like, it's a whole genre of the internet.
I am glad I don't know about this. I'm sad that you're teaching me now. I mean, I knew that there was a foot thing out there, but I didn't realize that there was
a big deal.
And it's not even dark web. Wow.
Look, this is what I post. Nothing about that, right?
Yeah, okay.
Nothing about that. Hit for the internet. Just that. That's the picture. It's just literally my legs propped up on the corner. It's actually on the corner of my desk, but it's my desk in my own house. Shut up with all my games going on. And I got like 6 messages from people like, "You're putting those for free on the internet?" It's like, you weirdos. I love you. You weirdos. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:06 in the morning. Things happened in sports last night, and we're going to tell you what the 3 most important things that happened in sports yesterday were, because you got to work and kill time. We just got to make it to Thursday. We got football on Thursday. We got college football. We got pro football. We got high school football on Friday. We got college football on Saturday. We got pro football on Sunday and Monday. We just got to make it to Thursday, and then 88 miles an hour. All right? We're just trying to get there. Flash to the future. How do you kill time? What's the best way to kill time? Very simple, ladies and gentlemen. You talk about sports with your coworkers at work and then with your family when you get home. But in order to do that, you have to know what is going on in the world of sports. And if you have to know what's going on in the world of sports, don't worry. We got you when we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
That doesn't work for me, brother.
before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers or your boss, your manager, whoever it is that you kill time with. And they know you're killing time. And you know you're killing time. Whoever you kill your time with, this is what you're going to be talking about. Let's dive in with item number 1. National Football League, the Chicago Bears were fully in charge of Monday Night Football until they were no longer in charge of Monday Night Football. J.J. McCarthy, the starting and brand new QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings, 48 passing yards in the opening half of football. This is why the take back in hour number 1 was the Vikings did not look as good as you're all making it sound. You're all making it sound like Minnesota's just full accelerator to an NFC championship. They didn't look that good. However, J.J. McCarthy last night, after 48 passing yards in the first half, after early in the fourth quarter throwing a pick 6 that it felt like sealed the game, became the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to account for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of their NFL debut. Also joined Steve Young as the only quarterbacks in the past 45 years to overcome a double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter of their debut and get the win. At the end of the night, McCarthy's numbers looked a heck of a lot better than you thought they would have at the end of the first half. J.J. McCarthy ended 13 of 20 for a $143, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He also ran one in. McCarthy ended the night last night on the ground with 2 carries for 25 yards, but of those 25 yards, 14 of them came on a scramble. Not even a scramble. It was a design run, a design QB run to the right that he was able to read a great read of a block to cut back inside of the wide receiver, get to the pylon, and score a touchdown. That was enough. Over on the other side, as much as I say the Vikings did not look as good as you are making them sound like they did, on the flip side, the Bears didn't look as bad as y'all are making it sound like they did. Caleb Williams, 21 of 35, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, a 63.8 QBR, which, by the way, if metrics mean anything to you, he had a higher QBR than J.J. McCarthy did in that game last night with a 63.8 QBR. McCarthy sacked 3 times. Caleb Williams was sacked twice in this game. The Bears did have 119 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown scored by Caleb Williams, 6 carries, 58 yards. DeAndre Swift, and this was, to me, where the problem largely was for Chicago. 17 carries, 53 yards, just a tick over 3.1 yards per carry last night. Jordan Mason led Minnesota with 68 yards on 15 carries. McCarthy 2 for 25. Aaron Jones Sr. had 8 for 23. Look, I'm not in on Minnesota any more than I was before this game, and I'm not out on Chicago any more than I was before this game. I think people are doing what people in the sports broadcasting world do, and they just rush to the extreme, because the extreme is where you get clicks and views. Middle, nuance, context, conversation. There's no room for that anymore, except here on the Rob Brown Show. Stick it in the NFL for just a minute. A couple of big stories that I don't think get their own cheat sheet item, but I do think that they are important. The San Francisco 49ers, we knew that George Kittle was going to miss some time with a hamstring injury. He is going to be now, we know, missing multiple weeks. Sat out most of their win over the Seahawks this weekend because of the injury, and it is expected that he will be missing some time moving forward, including this week's game against their old NFC West rivals, the New Orleans Saints. However, the big news is that the 49ers might be missing Brock Purdy, their starting quarterback, as well. Yesterday, Kyle Shanahan announced that Purdy has a left shoulder injury and a toe injury. The more serious one is that toe injury. They did not go into detail what that injury is: sprain, strain, broken, or turf toe, death toe. We don't know yet. But the rumor is now that Brock Purdy may miss the weekend against the New Orleans Saints as well. And the Philadelphia Eagles have now made their fifth trade dating back to mid-August. The Eagles sent a 2026 fifth and sixth rounder to Jacksonville to acquire running back Tank Bigsby. Bigsby rushed for 766 yards and 7 touchdowns last year, but they did not trade for Tank Bigsby for the run game. They're obviously in a pretty good spot there with Saquon Barkley, A.J. Dillon, and Will Shipley, who got some good play time in the Eagles' win over the Cowboys last Thursday night. They traded for Tank Bigsby because Bigsby averages over 32.5 yards per kick return right now. That's a weapon, dude. Like, I don't think he's gotten enough talk about being a special teams ace. So Tank Bigsby, now going to, my bet, relieve Will Shipley of his kick return responsibilities and will put Will Shipley exclusively into the gadget role for the Eagles. Let's get to item numero dos. 2 stories connected to the Atlanta Braves, just because the second story is a big story. The first story will be that the Atlanta Braves did win game 1 of a 3-game set yesterday against the Chicago Cubs. 4-1 was your final. Bryce Elder picked up his 7th win of the year. He is now 7-9. Went 6.1 innings, gave up 5 hits, just 1 earned run, and K'd 6 before the relief efforts of Johnson, Kinley, and Iglesias were able to hold the Cubs to a collective 0 hits from 6 2/3 innings the rest of the ride. Shoto Imanaga took the loss for Chicago. He is now 9-7, went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs to the Braves. K'd just 4, gave up 1 home run. That was to Ozzie Albies, his 16th of the year. Matt Olson also went dong, his 23rd of the year. That one came in the 8th inning off of Savali from the dish. Just 7 hits for Atlanta. More importantly, and I think this is the number that's been jumping off the page at me for the last handful of Braves losses, although last night was a win, 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position. 9 innings, the Braves managed to have a runner in scoring position 2 times in the entire game. That's just not enough. It's just not enough. Now, the story that matters, Sean Murphy, catcher, undergoing season-ending surgery on his right hip. He has a torn labral tear. I don't know what a labral is. He has a labral tear, which is, I assume, of a labrum, but I don't know how it works. I'm not a doctor, all right? He has a labral tear in his hip. He has apparently been playing it on that tear for the last 3 seasons and said, look, it's not killing me. It's not hurting my production. It's uncomfortable, but I'll deal with it. Well, since the Braves are cooked, he's going to go ahead and get that fixed and repaired.
A labral tear in the hip is an injury to the labrum, a ring of cartilage that lines the hip socket.
I nailed it. Maybe I am a doctor. Feels like anybody can be a doctor nowadays. Maybe I'll be a doctor. Just ask ChatGPT. I can do this. All right. So Sean Murphy going to shut it down for the year. That means obviously that rookie Drake Baldwin will step in as the permanent catcher for the rest of the ride, which honestly should have been the decision about 3 months ago. Drake Baldwin has been very good behind the plate for Atlanta and from the dish. 276, 15 home runs, 64 RBIs in 107 games. To put that into comparison, Sean Murphy has played 94 games, a 199 average, 16 dingers, just one more than Baldwin. Actually, it's Drake Baldwin who has been the better full-time catcher. I understand why they want to go with the rotation. I also understand that certain pitchers like working with certain catchers, but sometimes you just got to go, hey, we're not generating enough offense. So even if a pitcher's got to deal with a catcher he doesn't like, we need the guy who's batting 276, not the guy batting 199. Like that just feels obvious, but there's been a lot of obvious that has been passed up on by the Atlanta Braves over the past couple of weeks. Let's get to item number 3. I was going to save this audio for later on in the show, but I can't because it's genuinely that funny to me. There was a rumor going around that something's going down over in Austin, Texas, where Arch Manning plays. His quarterback, Arch Manning, who was bad in week 1 on the road at Ohio State, looked better, and statistically speaking, the numbers were good in week 2, but also they were playing San Jose State. So, like, yeah, sure, I would hope so. There were rumors going around that maybe Arch is hurt or there's a problem because there were a couple of sidearm throws that did not look great, that didn't need to be sidearm. There were a couple spots where the camera, after a throw, zoomed in on Arch Manning, caught Arch grimacing in what looked like pain as a reaction from the throwing motion. And so the folks in Texas were getting a little concerned. Maybe the reason he's not living up to the hype is because he's dinged up and Texas hasn't told us. Well, a reporter approached Steve Sarkisian and said, hey, is Arch hurt?
Arch Manning seemed to be having some throwing pains by the
According to who?
Arch
said that to you?
No.
Oh, according to who?
It just looked like he
doesn't have any.
Is there an explanation to why it looked like that?
I don't know. I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the bathroom, so I don't know what faces you make when you're doing that.
Yeah, I'm really glad to know you've never filmed me using the bathroom, Sark. Like, sometimes I get that we all want to have that quick, witty one-liner. Trust me, I've done it on the show a gazillion times in my career where you come up with something, you think it's funny, it's quick, it's witty, and you say it, and as soon as it leaves your mouth, you're like, oops.
Everything you've ever said has been hilarious.
No, I know, I'm perfect. Except for all of the times that I want it. But here's the thing, Sark, that's a genuine question. All right. It's a genuine question and it's a genuine opportunity. And it is a question that Texas fans have. Is our guy hurt? And here's the thing. If the answer is yes, hell, I might breathe a sigh of relief if I'm a Texas fan, right? Oh, of course. He's not as bad as he's looked in 2 weeks. He's dinged up. Let's let the kid rest up, get healthy, and then we'll see who Arch Manning really is. Like, this is an opportunity to let people breathe. And if he's not hurt, then let Texas fans know so that they can process what that means and evaluate where everything is. Sark's response instead is, I've never filmed any of you going to the bathroom, so I don't know what faces you make. Did Arch crap his pants? Sark, we're not asking you about Arch's face when he's going numero deuce. We're asking you, is he hurt?
I get you're defending the reporter who sounded like his soul left his body because he suddenly realized, I'm about to lose my gig because I asked this question. And I still don't have a problem with coaches going back and forth a little bit with the media because the media is not untouchable. And
is Arch Manning hurt? A fair question. For a guy who is underperformed, that's a statement of objective truth. Sure. And who was grimacing in the game. Is it a fair question?
And I don't have a problem with the response.
See, I do. First off, I have a response.
Why?
Because
does the media command respect?
Because it's a fair question.
Okay. All right.
It's a fair question.
Right.
Their job is to ask questions.
If he was laughing when he said it, if Sarkisian was laughing when he said it, would it have bothered you as much?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. For 2 reasons. Number one, it's a weird thing to say. All right? It's a weird thing to say.
Potty humor, very popular.
Big fan of poop jokes. All right? I'm a child. I've acknowledged I'm a 10-year-old in a 40-year-old man's body. But there's a line. Is a guy who entered this year as the Heisman Trophy favorite. The Heisman Trophy favorite.
Yeah,
Did he not?
By some,
Correct.
probably.
Not by some.
Yeah.
By Las Vegas. He was the Heisman Trophy favorite.
Okay. I'll
By Las
take your
Vegas.
word for that.
But you don't have to take my word. It's an objective truth. Okay?
I'll still take your word anyway.
All right,
so
cool.
there.
Take my word for it. Arch Manning entered the season as the number 1 shortest odds to win the Heisman. And in week 1, he stank. And in week 2, he looked very average and pedestrian. There were cameras on his face throwing footballs, and you could see the grimace. Now, I think that if I'm Sark, I go, no, he made a couple of bad throws, and that's the reaction he has when he makes a bad throw because he knows he can play better. Instead, Sark goes, I've never filmed you pooping, so I don't know what faces you made. Unless Arch was pooping, that's an irrelevant answer, Sark. Is he hurt or not?
We don't know that he wasn't.
Pooping or hurt?
Yes.
If he was going to poop, he'd have done it in the Ohio State game, not against San Jose State. All right? So therefore, being hurt, again, and Arch was wearing white pants. So if he was pooping, we'd have known about it. All right? Like, that would have been as demonstrable as the grimace of pain. I think it's a fair question
Looked
to
like
ask.
a girdle was actually depends. I don't know.
Those pants probably a little tight for the depends for a 20-year-old starting college football quarterback, you know?
I'll let you know in 5 years.
I think we got to stop treating Sark like he's college football royalty. He's not. He's not Nick Saban, and y'all have to stop pretending like he is. All right, when we come back, I'm gonna make a little shift because I ran late. We're gonna push TMFINR a little further back in the show. All right, back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I will.
All right, guys, live read coming right back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. is the Fan Upstate. We have talked some NFL this morning, reacting to last night's Vikings 27-24 victory over the Chicago Bears. We have talked some college football as well so far this morning. We'll go wherever you want to. The phone lines are open, 844-326-3663. I want to hang on for just a minute about that Steve Sarkisian thing we were talking about there a second ago, because I also think that kind of goes into that Mike McCarthy, Dabo Swinney conversation that we talked about earlier this morning. I pointed out that over the last couple of days since the Miami Dolphins were thoroughly and entirely humiliated by the Indianapolis Colts. And by the way, Keith and TR texted, said, can we not talk as much about how bad the Dolphins are going to be and give my Colts some credit for how good they look like they could be? Yeah, Keith, the Colts look good. They really did. But again, the old sliding scale of truth. On one end is Colts very good. On the other end is Dolphins very bad. And the pin of truth is somewhere in the middle there. And based on what I saw, it's further towards Dolphins really bad than Colts really good. Now, if the Colts come out, I heard this conversation yesterday about the Florida State-Alabama game, right? When people were like, oh, Florida State that went over Alabama, like Alabama's really bad. It's like, maybe Alabama's good, and we're all going to look at the end of the year and be like, damn, how did Florida State go 2-10 and then turn around the next year and go whatever they're going to be? And there is a better than decent chance Florida State could be getting to the middle of November at 10-0, right? Like I asked Ryan Horvat this question last week on BetMGM Tonight. I said, based on what we saw in week one, just week one, if Florida State and Clemson played football this weekend, who would you pick? Because I got to tell you, the answer is Florida State. The answer is Florida State. And Horvat said, well, I think Alabama's bad. Like, I don't think Alabama's good. And I think LSU is really good. And I said, look, just look at the way that they played. Florida State physically manhandled Alabama. Physically. When's the last time anybody physically manhandled Alabama? And granted, it ain't the Nick Saban Crimson Tide anymore, but they manhandled some of Saban's guys who were still on that team. So I would have said I'd take Florida State. And after this weekend, I definitely would say I'd take Florida State over Clemson if they play this weekend, right? Like, I feel better about it. I pointed out yesterday, I do not take this as gospel. This has exactly and precisely zero factor in my picks for the weekend. But because I found it interesting, ESPN's game probability predictor, it's just based on the stats and the metrics, who's predicted to win a game, gives Georgia Tech a 55 to 45% edge over Clemson to win their game this weekend in Atlanta.
Wow.
55%, ESPN says, is the likelihood Georgia Tech upsets Clemson this weekend.
What does Vegas say?
You know what? That's a great question. Let's go look at those.
I'm curious. Is
I'm gonna
Clemson
bet you
the underdog? I'm
gonna bet you right now, Clemson's probably favored by 2.5. That's gonna be my guess. I'm gonna say Clemson by 2.5. Give me just a second. I'll get the book pulled up and we'll talk about it. But until I can get there, because their website takes a second to load. Before I can get there, the thought that I had was, and I have said this a couple of times, I'm kind of tired of Steve Sarkisian be treated. Clemson's favored by 3.5, by the way. So I was close. I'm kind of tired of Steve Sarkisian being treated as if he is like football royalty. Like, what has he done? I brought up the stats the other day. I don't have them right in front of me right now, but Sarkisian against ranked top 25 teams, if I recall off the top of my head, is like 6-9. It's like 6-9. Like, why are we pretending? And I guess that's kind of the point to me is I don't understand why. When Texas fans enter a year where they are the number one ranked team to come into the year, and again, preseason rankings don't mean a damn thing, but let's not pretend that they don't set fan expectations. When the expectation is SEC title, national title, Heisman Trophy for Arch in there as well. And you come out, you go on the road, and credit to Ohio State for winning the game, but let's not pretend Texas didn't look like booty cheeks in that game. Again, sliding scale of truth. On one side, Texas bad. On the other, Ohio State good. The pin is way closer to Texas bad than Ohio State good. Now, Ohio State came out and dumped 70 this weekend, so like maybe we moved the pin a little bit over. But still, it's closer to Texas bad. So, Texas fans, and I guess this is kind of why this is not me going to bat for the media. This is me going to bat for the fans in this case. Because if I'm a Texas fan and I'm giving money, whether it is booster money, NIL money, merchandise, tickets, or my attention watching games that gets the SEC $1 billion contract, whatever. If you come into the year having built up and played to, let's not pretend Sark didn't play to, playing to those expectations. Yes, we expect to win a natty. Yes, we expect. You go out there and you lose game one. It's not you lose on the road to the number 2 team in the country. It's that you look bad doing it.
This is the number 3.
Sorry, number 3 team in the country. Now number 1 team in the country. But you lose to the number 3 team in the country. Yes, on the road, but you look bad doing it. Then you turn around in week 2, and a guy who was objectively the front runner for the Heisman Trophy going into the season looks very average against San Jose State. And then there's videos of him grimacing and looking bad in the process. And a reporter says, hey, is Arch Manning hurt? That is something that fans would like to know. That is something that they are going to gauge their view of your team, and the most important thing to you, the financial participation with the team on. And instead of saying, no, he's not hurt, he was reacting because he made a bad throw or 3, and he knows he should be better than that. Or, yeah, like he's got a little bruise, ribcage a little bruised up. Ohio State beat the ever-loving dog snot out of him. He's a little hurt, and he was trying to work through that. We're trying to get him through it. We think he's going to be fine this weekend, but he was a little banged up. Instead, Sark makes this weird take of, I've never videoed you when you pooped, so I don't know what your face looks like. Was Arch pooping? I'm not asking about Arch pooping or not. I'm asking about him playing quarterback.
You seem to be fixated on that.
It's a weird thing to say.
Okay, all right.
Just say yes or no. You are disappointing Texas fans. Yes, you're 2-0. Oh, sorry. No. You're not 2-0. You're 1-1. Yes, you're still in the top 15, but you're 1-1. You lost to, yes, the reigning defending, but without their quarterback, basically with one guy on offense that anybody was talking about. Like, they lost half their offensive line to the draft. Yes, you were expected to be better than you are. And so for somebody to say, hey, is our quarterback hurt? And you to respond with, I've never videoed you pooping. That's a jerk move unnecessarily for a guy who has a losing record against top 25 teams. You ain't Nick, Sark. You're just not. It's weird. All right, let's talk some football.
That's 2. I still think it's funny.
I mean, again, poop jokes are funny, but that wasn't like, that's like your mom going, how was your day today? And you're going, I've never seen you poop, Mom. Like, it's a weird time and place for that answer.
No, that's a totally different thing.
It's about time and place, and that was neither. All right, just like pooping, time and place, that was neither of them. You poop at the wrong time or place, it's going to fall down on you. All right? All right, I feel like I've sufficiently got myself in trouble. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Fall down on what?
Yeah, that probably wasn't right.
Yeah, okay.
You got the point. So my pen just randomly shattered. But it works, though. All right, dudes and dudettes, stay right there. I got to take a walk. You'll see her.
remember, he had it under here.
All right, welcome back, dudes. Jacob, the Boston hat is for two reasons. Number one, they have kind of become my adopted American League team because I went to Fenway Park a couple of years ago, and I had the absolute time of my life. And the Boston fans were awesome because I'm not a Yankees fan. They were awesome. But also because I saw James Taylor last night. He's a big Red Sox guy. So I rocked it last night to the James Taylor show because I love James Taylor. And then when I woke up this morning, it was on the table and I was wearing a white shirt and it matched. So the overwhelming majority of hats that I wear, I pick that day because they match my outfit. I cannot rock a hat that doesn't match outfit. The pants are blue, by the way. The pants are a matching blue.
Just in case you were wondering, of course.
Oh, I didn't want everybody to think that I only half matched an outfit.
How does that match with blue pants?
Because it's a blue hat.
Is it? It doesn't look blue.
It's faded.
Yeah,
it's a blue
because
hat.
of the fade. Now I see it better. No, I see it better
Yeah.
now. It just
Blue hat, blue pants. The only issue is, and I blew it. I put on my brown walking boots today instead of I should have gone with the white sneaks. The white sneaks would have been a better vibe. But I woke up late.
Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the Ingles Market Studio, the Fan.
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Starting.
Live from the Free Ice. Now, the Infinity Sports Network. Rise and shine, sports fans. Grab your coffee and the jolt of sports on the Rob Brown
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. We're kind of jumping all over the place this morning here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We played you one clip yesterday from Dabo Swinney in his postgame press conference after Troy. Here is another clip. He was asked about the fans booing the team, and they were. I was watching at the house, and as I'm assuming many, if not most of you were as well. It was picked up on TV.
No, I was booing with them. Yeah, I was booing too. No, it don't bother me. Like, man, high expectations are high here, man. Like, we got to play better. And, this is a place that cares. And, we show we care about how we play. And so, that's part of the game. It's a passionate place. And I was right along with them.
For the record.
there you go.
For the record. Not going to beat up on them for that. I'm not. I will beat up on them for the response to it. But not that. Like, yeah, okay, that is the answer. All right?
How dare he? How dare he not be there to support his team? I mean, that's just it's terrible. I don't know why there's not an outcry from the Clemson fans about the fact that he's booing something that he made happen.
Wait, time out.
He's booing the team. He's the reason the team's not doing well. Why are they not calling for his job? Why?
Hang on.
Why is there not orange in the street?
Hang on. Yesterday, I brought up the negatives about the Gamecock game, and you were like, no, be happy and positive and everything's amazing.
You're right, because I was dead serious about everything I just said in the last 30 seconds.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to beat up on Dabo Swinney for that.
I don't think it's a good look, though. Again, the fact that technically it's his fault they look bad. I mean, I get coaches don't play, but coaches get them prepared
or don't.
And so I think it's a bad look for him to say that.
I think it would be
he should be booing though, because that was bad. But
it
still,
was bad. It was bad. And any Clemson fan who is going to argue, well, actually, we looked really good, I'm gonna say your orange glasses are way too thick. It was bad. There's no arguing that it was an underwhelming performance against a team that you should, even just on paper, have dramatically overmatched. I don't have an issue with the response because I do think it would have been a worse look for Dabo to come out and go, no, man, y'all got to stop booing. Like these young men are out here giving everything they got to the game. Y'all gotta stop booing them and be positive. Like, no, absolutely not. For the same reason that I talked about Sark the last couple of segments. Because the expectations are high, you are expected to match those expectations. And when you do not, there's a problem. When you do not, there's an issue. If you are asking me to invest in the program, you are asking me to invest money, time, resources, whatever, emotion into the program, then I would like to see that, or at least feel like the same amount of energy, effort, and time has been invested into being successful. And you're 1-1. Your loss was a game that, okay, forgivable if you lose the game. Not forgivable to go out there and play bad and you played poorly and you lost. It's one thing if you go out there and you play well and you lose the game. It's another thing to go out there and play like you played and lose the game. And then you turn around the very next week against the mighty Troy Trojans. Clemson fans packed the house out. It's sold out. That game is sold out. It wasn't an empty seat in the place. To come out and say, you know what, we get it. We understand bad week. Let's get it right. Get it tight. Let's do the thing today. And then you turn around, you're down 16-3 and you have to like go full throttle to climb back into a game against Troy at the crib. I'm not going to beat up Dabo for the response because it would have been a worse look to boo the fans for booing the team. I get it. I'm very simply going to say, I don't care about the platitudes. I don't care about the platitudes. I don't care about the commentary, the language. I don't care about any of it. I care about one thing. You're on the road at Georgia Tech on Saturday. You're on the road at a team that a number of folks, including myself, believe are a good football team, going into a building where you are this year, you are their Super Bowl. Like you're it. You are going to, I assume, you are going to get the best shot that Georgia Tech gives at or to anybody all season long. After this game, Georgia Tech does not have another ranked team on the schedule until rivalry weekend when they play Georgia, right? And you better believe, like Georgia Tech, especially if they want to, if they want to get into the playoff, whether it's via the ACC title game or not, if they want to get in, they pretty much have to beat you, because I don't think anybody thinks, although Georgia doesn't look great right now, they're fine. They don't look great. They're my pick to win the SEC. They don't look great out of the gate. But they're still better than most teams. So if Georgia Tech wants any shot at the playoff, and yes, the aspirations are playoff for the Rambling Wreck this year. If they want in, they have to beat you. You're the resume builder for this team. 10-2 with losses to Clemson and Georgia will not be good enough to get this team in. It just won't. Unless Colorado, wins out and climbs back into the top 15. I think Duke went ahead and took themselves out of the, well, I won't say that. They lost to a top 10 team in Illinois. But, unless Duke has a dramatic turnaround, I don't think NC State is a threat as much as I didn't think they were preseason. I just said they were interesting. Pitt, like is Pitt going to climb into the top? I don't know. The point is, the only resume builders out there for Georgia Tech are a bunch of, well, maybe if everything goes great for them, Clemson and Georgia. You're getting the best shot. And as of now, you are the betting favorite. But if I'd have told you preseason, even with Rob Brown sitting here telling y'all, I think this Tech team is for real this year. I think they're interesting. If I'd have told you 3 weeks ago, you were going to go into Atlanta as a 3.5-point favorite. And by the way, that's BetMGM. There are books you can get them at 2.5 right now. If I'd have told you were going into Atlanta as a less than a field goal favorite at Georgia Tech, even I would have been like, I really like Georgia Tech, but like, no. Right? So not going to beat up Dabo for the response. However, I will say, if you go into Tech and that offense performs, or should I say doesn't performs, like it didn't performs against LSU and for 3 quarters against Troy, like you're going to lose the game. Okay? Forget how I'm going to feel. Forget how I'm going to talk about you on Monday. If you go into that game and your offense performs the way it's performed the last 2 weeks, you're going to lose to Georgia Tech. And if you drop to Georgia Tech, even if they are a good football team, even if Brent Key is a football dude that is the best shot that Tech's ever had at making a significant postseason achievement and accomplishment, even if I am dead on accurate about Georgia Tech, that I'm high on this team, and I think I got a ticket on Georgia Tech as a playoff team. I caught him at like 17-1 to make the playoffs. I did that like 6 weeks ago. You can't get him there now. But if I'm right about Georgia Tech and they are a playoff caliber team, you will lose this game on the road if your offense doesn't pick it up. And I will say very simply, fine with that response, right? Yeah, I was booing too. We got to play better. Great. Yeah, we all agree. Like I would have beaten Dabo up had he come out and been like, yo, you know what? We can't have that. We can't have that. These boys are out here busting hump. They work so hard. They're out here practicing every day. It's hot. They got to go to class. We ask a lot of them here at Clemson. Like we need you to be supportive, be positive. Tell us how amazing we are. I'd have beat them up for that. I'm not going to beat them up for saying I was booing too and we need to play better because, yeah, I get it. I'm not going to beat them up for that. I will beat them up if it doesn't look better this weekend at Georgia Tech. I will also say this. If it doesn't look better this weekend at Georgia Tech, even if you win the game, 24-21, 17-14, if it's a close game, 1, 2, 3-point game, inside a field goal game, and your offense looks anemic in the process, because, again, the front seven for Clemson is good. Like the boys up front on the defense, zero questions. That's the one thing that's kept you alive so far. If that front seven doesn't play the way they played against Troy, you lose that game. If they don't play the way they played against LSU, you lose that game by 2-3 touchdowns. You already should have lost by 2. Maybe you lose it by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
All they got to do is win the ACC and they're in the playoff.
Right, but that's not, again, if they play like this and win the ACC, they're going to get their asses handed to them by anybody that is going to be a representative from your conference or the SEC.
Probably.
So, yes, like, again, the point is, what can we look at to improve? I saw a lot of people beating Dabo up for this answer in his press conference. I'm not going to. I am very simply going to say, if that offense performs the way it did last week against Troy, the way it did a week before that against LSU, not only will you lose to Georgia Tech, but at that point, the floor is 11-1 becomes the floor is 7-5. The floor is 8-4. In a year where you came in with a top 4 Heisman final or a top 4 odds getter for Heisman finalists, in a year in which you came in with a defense that I think has as many as 4 NFL first day picks on it long term, in a year where the referendum is on Dabo Swinney to prove that I can run this program this way and we can still be a contender. You play like you played in weeks 1 and 2, you're going to lose to Georgia Tech. You're going to start the year 1 and 2. You are going to be jumped from the playoff odds. And frankly, I don't think you'll go. Because I think if you lose to Georgia Tech with the schedule they have, Georgia Tech's going to the ACC title game.
I am appalled by such an abhorrent response by the coach of the mighty Clemson Tigers. And I think you need to shame him. Shame him. Shame Clemson fans, you must shame him.
Steven wrote the best segue to go to the Sports Flash. I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, someone who's never booed Lonzo with a Sports Flash. I like it.
That's not true. I've been booed before, and I deserved it. First game of the J.J. McCarthy era in Minnesota ended in a come-from-behind victory over division rival Chicago 27-24 last night. McCarthy had only 48 first-half passing yards and a pass pick for a touchdown early in the third quarter, but rallied down the stretch to go 13-20 for 143 yards and 2 passing and 1 rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to do so. The Atlanta Braves took game 1 at home against the Cubs yesterday, 4-1. Bryce Elder picked up his 9th win of the year, giving up 5 hits and just 1 run in 6.1 innings, striking out 6. Atlanta had 7 hits on the night, including Matt Olson's 23rd home run of the year and Ozzie Albies' 16th. The 49ers announced 2 major injuries yesterday. Tight end George Kittle will miss multiple weeks as he battles a hamstring. Possibly joining him could be star quarterback Brock Purdy, who is dealing with shoulder and toe injuries. Shame him. Shame him.
delays there.
For the News Talk 98.9 WRD Traffic Center, I'm Lloyd Houston on the Fan, Upstate.
War as hell. We'll discuss as we take a bite out of history with Ingalls Markets. In May of 1864, General William Tecumseh Sherman was given the task.
Okay, so I made the mistake of my Twitter feed stopping on a video, which always seems to happen, of a cat, unfortunately. So now I'm gonna get a ton of cat videos, but it's a cat dropping water balloons on a dog, and I can't tell if it's AI or not. It's probably AI, but it's pretty funny. But if you leave a video on while you're working, you got a good shot of getting nothing but cat videos. Looks like we're doing good though. Just a bunch of wrestling videos. I'm okay with that. And the Colts owner on the sidelines, which I'm surprised has not been addressed.
This all-new telemedicine platform is an exciting and time-saving option. It can either be by phone or video conference, and you will get one-on-one attention to evaluate your situation. If you're a candidate for regenerative medicine, you can get your treatment scheduled on the spot and be on your way to lasting relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in cellular-level regenerative medicine. Their treatments can restore and repair damaged joint tissue using natural growth factors, not drugs, not steroids, and definitely not surgery. You have heard about QC Kinetics for years. They have treated thousands.
I would take the video down, but let's watch Rob and see if he's he can't see the door. See if with all his weight loss, if he struggles with the doors. The doors are extremely heavy in this building.
It's QC Kinetics. Rebels fans, get the MVP treatment you deserve when you join Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders offers competitive rates, trusted financial tools, and unrivaled service to their members in our Duncan community. When you're going for a financial win, get a financial teammate that can help you score big. Visit a Founders office near you or foundersfcu.com to apply for membership today. Federally insured by NCUA, membership qualification required.
Mad World Haunted Attraction is now open. Experience haunted houses, mini golf, axe throwing, and much more. Located in Piedmont off I-85, exit 35. Get ready for 15 years of fear at Mad World.
Thank you, William. See, I did just because I don't hear the boos, it doesn't mean. I mean, I've had some takes probably daily where people are booing, maybe in their car, maybe at the cube at work. Maybe every time I play the kitten sound. So he didn't struggle with the door. He actually came through pretty smoothly.
Was I expected to?
Well, since you've lost the weight, and I'm explaining how heavy these doors actually are. They're really heavy doors. First time someone tries to open them up, and they're like, oh. By the way, that was definitely a poop face from March Manning, without a doubt.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
I mean, there's no doubt that that's what he was doing. I don't know how they covered it up, but I think it's one of those things where the coach actually told the truth to everyone, and they just didn't believe it.
Is he hurt? No, he was pooping his pants.
Yeah, he just told them. He's basically doing that thing where you call the player out in the media to not do that anymore.
No, it was just pooping his pants.
Notice I haven't played it that much because it's more sarcastic, and Clemson hasn't looked good the last couple. I actually feel a little bit bad for you guys. I'll get over it though. Well, now I've got otter videos showing up. I think they're otters. Or are those? No, They're not. They're what was Ricky Tiki Tavi? Mongooses.
Mongoose.
Yeah, they're mongooses.
What a pull.
It was a good show, movie, whatever it was. Oh, there's the cat videos. I knew that would happen.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you be a part of the radio program. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE. You can call that number. You can text that number. It is the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. We will read it on the air for you. Call that number. Get on the air with us. We got a lot we're getting to, a lot of NFL as Monday Night Football week number 1 concluded the week number 1 slate for the NFL yesterday. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Vikings come from behind win over Chicago last night because, again, I think considering that people love nothing more than running to one end of the spectrum or the other, I think that people are overreacting. I think it's a good win for Minnesota. Minnesota did not suddenly turn themselves into a Super Bowl contender. I thought it was a bad loss for Chicago giving up that lead in the fourth.
Chicago, and proof that if Minnesota can win with Sam Darnold, they can win with J.J. McCarthy.
We'll see. We'll see. Because, again, I'm not overreacting to one game. I don't care that it was the last game, the highlight game, the only game on last night. I think that is something else that happens is, there were a lot of games that look like this on Sunday, and we don't have all these hot takes coming out on Sunday night.
I will say, out of all the games, I thought last night would be the most boring, and it ended up being
pretty good.
Yeah. That fourth quarter was great.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly
it's great if you're a Minnesota fan.
Last night might have been the second best game of the weekend behind only Baltimore and Buffalo, which was a banger. It was fine. But again, this does not suddenly elevate the Vikings to NFC favorite, in my opinion. And it does not suddenly mean that, same old Bears. I disagree with that. I thought that there were spots last night, especially early in the game, where the Bears look good. Like, they had some spots. They look good. I think J.J. McCarthy threw the ball relatively well last night. He was hitting guys. He had that touchdown to Jefferson that he kind of weaved it between a pair of collapsing DBs. I thought it was a great throw. I thought Caleb Williams got dinged up for his performance. Dude was under fire last night from the DL.
Was Bill Murray on with Peyton and Eli last night?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Apparently.
I was at James Taylor.
I'm seeing a video from Awful Announcing. So
got to check that out.
Yeah.
Love Bill Murray. Love the Peyton Manning Brothers. Love the Manning Brothers podcast. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run to our audio blitz here. I got a couple of sounds that I want to play for you here. And then in the next segment, it is time for the return of America's favorite awards. That
is not real.
Awards where we hand out individual acknowledgement for spectacular performances.
I think she's doing all right.
I thought about her over the weekend when Philly's Karen became the news for the day. Like, I wonder how tight the circle is where people still reference that to you, right? Like, if that lady walked in the door right now, I don't know that I'd be like, oh, hey, that's the
that is not real
lady. I don't know that I'd pick her out of a crowd. If Philly Karen's walked in the room right now, I'd be like, you suck. You're a bad person, and you should feel bad about yourself. Make better life choices.
I'd probably put down some money for a Karen versus Karen pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's Karen was just like definition of Karen. This lady was a crazy person.
Crazy, right.
This lady was a crazy person. Like,
so you got crazy versus angry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who wins that.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's get some sound in here on the show. We got your TMF INRs coming up in the next segment of the radio program. Ken Rosenthal is a baseball reporter. I actually really like Ken Rosenthal. I had him on the Saturday show a number of times. Rosenthal gave this take on the Foul Territory pod. and for some reason got a bunch of pushback against it that I'll never understand.
Whoever is the best should win. Now, it seems like a simple concept, but human nature being what it is, my suspicion is at least some writers will be looking for a new flavor of the month, and that should not be in any way a factor in this voting. I know Shohei Ohtani has won 3 of the last 4, or MVPs 3 of the last 4 years, Judge 2 of the last 3. I'm sure everybody would like in a perfect world to see some new faces, but that doesn't dictate what a voter should do. What dictates what a voter should do is the actual on-field performance of all of the players involved. If Raleigh and Schwarber are deserving, yes, they're the MVPs. But if Judge and Ohtani are deserving, then they're the MVPs. All I want to see is that we do this right, because I don't want us to look back in 20 years and have people say, what the hell were the writers thinking? And that's my fear, that someone will get shafted here simply because I'm tired of voting for Aaron Judge. Not cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it's a hot take. So the discussion was obviously about MLB MVP. Is Cal Raleigh, has he done enough? More home runs than any catcher ever in a single season. Has he done enough? Any of the pitchers from Philly, do they deserve? Or is it Shohei and Aaron Judge in the AL and NL? Because those are the 2 best players in baseball. Now, there's an argument against Aaron Judge, who has been this year primarily playing as a DH for a variety of reasons. One of them is that his defense stinks in right field. So Aaron Boone put him in the DH role. He just recently, I think last week, returned to playing in the outfield because they were running out of bodies due to injury. Does that take away from the conversation? Because Shohei Ohtani won it as a DH last year because of how good he was at the dish, did not play any defense at all. So I don't get the hot take. Like, the only thing I would push back on and say is, what's the definition of valuable? Is it valuable because they're just clearly the best player? Or is it valuable because of what their team accomplishes because of what they did, right? If there is a guy who's the best player in baseball and his team was expected to win 45 games, but they win 70, not in the playoffs, don't make the postseason, but they win 20 games more than expected to, and we directly attribute it to this guy, is that more valuable than the 4th best player in baseball, but his team goes to the NLCS, right? Like, what's more value? Is it valuable to the team, or is it valuable just what they put on paper is more valuable as a player? I don't know. But either way, the answer is you're giving it to the best player. And I don't see how that's a hot take. Like, no, voter fatigue should not be a thing. This was the big argument a couple of years ago when Joel Embiid won the MVP. And it's like, clearly Nikola Jokic is a better player. Like, clearly he's a better player. And his team did more. Why are we giving it to it? Well, voter fatigue. That's stupid. That's dumb. If a dude is the best player in the league for 4, 5, 6, 7 straight years, he should be recognized for it. Not say, we're tired of you being the best. That's a dumb way to look at it. Am I ever so humble, yet frequently correct opinion? Mike Vrabel is the head coach of the New England Patriots. Now, not yet, Mike. Hold your horses, Mike. Bill Belichick is the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. He, and you may know this, used to be the head coach of the New England Patriots. Well, a handful of days ago, Bill Belichick at a press conference said that he was closing UNC's facilities to New England scouts and authorities. He said he's not welcome in New England anymore. And if he's not welcome in New England anymore, then New England is not welcome where he is anymore. Mike Vrabel, who used to play for Bill Belichick, pulled the BS card.
The scouts onto campus to scout as players.
Again, nothing surprises me. I would imagine that that Bill, I mean, he came back for the best of my knowledge, Tom's ceremony, so that I guess he's welcome back based on the fact that he was there. So I'll just go by that. Since his departure as the head coach here, he's been back, and I'll leave it at that.
Has he maybe been out shopping or something at Patriot Place and not allowed to walk?
I don't know.
Does his key card still work?
Well, no. When you get fired, the key card does not work. I tried it. I went back to Tennessee. It doesn't work.
No. They call that a Mancini.
No, the fingerprint doesn't work. The key card doesn't work. No, that's not how it happened.
I like smartass Mike Vrabel. He's the best. He's my favorite Mike Vrabel. There's tough, angry Mike Vrabel, and there's smartass Mike Vrabel, and I prefer that one. Yeah, I think my favorite part of Bill Belichick going, no, I'm not welcome in New England. Dude, you were there 2 weeks ago. Tom Brady's statue ceremony was 2 weeks ago. If in the last 2 weeks, Bob Kraft was like, hey, you know what? Screw Bill Belichick. Like, all right, dude.
Maybe while he was there, something happened to let him know that he was no longer welcome.
I mean, maybe. It'd be weird if they were like,
things were said, you know.
Did they red wedding Bill Belichick? They were like, bring him in. And then cut him out. Like, I don't know, maybe. It just feels weird. It does. Dayan Henley is a defensive back for the San Diego Chargers. This was during the preseason, but I just found it for the first time. The Los Angeles Chargers. It's only been like 5 years, people. Give me some time.
You sure it wasn't longer than
No,
that?
I'm not sure. I don't know how time works anymore. Dayan Henley is a defensive back for the Chargers. During the preseason, they welcomed a special guest celebrity to serve as their honorary captain. And this individual was standing legitimately 5 feet from Dayan Henley.
Oh, hold up. Judge Judy. Oh, she's with us. That's dope. That's dope. She is so small.
Yeah, she is Dayan Henley. She's like 4 foot nothing. First off, the first reaction I had when I saw this video, because Judge Judy is standing next to 2 NFL players, I had 2 thoughts. Number one, yeah, she is so small. Number 2, it's weird to see the lower body of Judge Judy. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen Judge Judy on TV for like 40 years, and that's the first time I've seen Judge Judy's legs in my life. Like, first time. That being said,
with all the authority she wielded, she might have been the scariest person on that field.
100% is there. And I say this, like, the list of television, like genuine, beloved television celebrities, right? Bob Ross is on that list. For everyone in America except Lonzo, Mr. Rogers is on that list.
So creepy.
Steve Irwin is on that list. All of the TV celebrities that are kind of known as being like icons, and kind of wildly beloved across all of TV, they're all known for being like wholesome and lovable. Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince, like they're all known for being lovable and wholesome and charismatic and whatever. And then there's Judge Judy, who just like takes no bleep, and she's gonna let you know that, and yet still is in that hall of TV fame. And I love it.
Well, shorter people have to do that, because if not, they'll be stepped on. I mean, not literally, but figured. Well, it could be literally also, but yeah, she has to do it. By the way, Chargers moved in 2017. That's 8 years. He's counting.
Anyway, that's cool. That's fun. Did you watch the Georgia Tech game this past weekend? If you didn't, don't worry about it. Most people did not. However, during that game, they sent out a punt returner. And the punt returner, for whatever reason, we didn't actually get an explanation because Brent Key is hilarious. The punt returner was wearing the number 43 on his jersey, not his regular number. And the jersey was a friggin' parachute. All right? If you haven't seen this, it's worth going to find the video. He's wearing a jersey that as the punter is getting set up, he's like trying to get it tucked in because the jersey was like it was not an offensive lineman's jersey. It was like the offensive lineman's jersey. It was like that, you know, the really big fat kid in Varsity Blues that played center. It was like his jersey. It's massive. And so Brent Key got asked.
You mean the guy who asked the stripper teacher to the prom?
Yes.
That guy?
Yes, the big fat kid that played center, who, by the way, was the best character in that movie. I don't care what you say. Sorry, James Vander, whatever your name is. Sit down. That's not true. Whipped Cream Bikini Girl was the best character in that movie. Big fat center was the second.
Ali Lauder.
Ali Lauder. That is exactly who it was.
But don't ask me how I
Still
know.
got it, by the way. So Brent Key was asked about his punt returner wearing a jersey the size of a parachute.
Punt return. Eric had to switch jerseys. Can you sort of walk us through the process on why he's throwing on a different jersey, how that all happens?
I could walk through the jersey. You could open it up, and it's 6'4", 280 pounds. I could walk right through it and not touch one side of the thing. So I had a friend of mine call me on Sunday. An O-line buddy. First thing he said was something about the jersey. I hung up on him. 41, 43. Yeah. You will not see that jersey ever again.
I freaking love this dude.
So
I love this dude so much.
Is an equipment manager in trouble for that? I mean, I
don't
guess
know.
I guess that's who takes care of it, right?
I mean, yes, like that would be an equipment manager or like lead equipment manager who would be responsible for jerseys and helmets and all that. I don't know if like
the equipment manager and the trainers had a bet. Who like, watch this. You know, that's what you won't do it. Yeah, I will.
So here's the thing. If you watch it, the jersey is swallowing this kid. I mean, it's friggin' enormous. All right. And do you want to guess how, when it looked like he was about to pop one, how he got tackled?
Yeah, they grabbed the jersey.
The jersey billowing in the wind behind him like a sail that just got detached from a ship was grabbed.
If I recall, he went down pretty easy though. So I mean,
because the dude had 7 fistfuls of jersey because there was enough jersey to get 7 fistfuls.
Why wasn't it a tearaway? They still make those, right?
I don't think that's legal anymore. All I know is Brinky's hilarious. He's like, hey, can you walk us through how we got in that jersey? I can walk through that jersey. Like, what a bar. What a line. I love that dude. I love that dude, man. All right, let's see. Do I have one more? I do, but I actually want to make a segment out of it. So we're going to come back to that. James Franklin said something yesterday, and he didn't really thinly veil who he was talking about. And I completely disagree with what James Franklin said about having a college football commissioner. And I'll tell you why coming up a little bit later in the show. But when we come back, we take a look at the football weekend that was. We find those who deserve superlatives, and we hand them out when we do the week 1 and 2 edition of the 2025 inaugural
Is not real.
awards. And we do that next. Spinal Tap 2. How did I not know Spinal Tap 2 was a thing?
We've talked about it. We have. You just forgot. It's okay. It's all right.
Did we take the conversation to 11? Did we make 10 louder?
Possibly.
Or does this one go to 11?
Possibly. They redid Stonehenge and Elton John's on it. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Try not to spontaneously combust during this segment. And when we come back, we hand out the
Is not real.
awards for week 2 in college football and week 1 of the NFL. That's next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. I got to line up some info. We will be right back.
Yeah, Elton John does.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in the year of 2025, it is time for us to hand out the most prestigious award in sports, the
That is not real.
awards. Let's jump right in. We are going to start in the landscape of the National Football League. We'll run through the NFL, TMF, INRs, and then we may have to push college to the next segment. That's okay. It's the moment of the week you've all been waiting for. Let's get to it. Let's start last Friday. Nobody really jumping off the page to me in the Philly-Dallas game. I guess I could argue Jalen Hurts was that guy. Nothing spectacular about the numbers. That is not true about the Chargers' 27-21 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think we've got to hand it to Justin Herbert. 25 of 34, 318 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Also ran 7 times for 32 yards. One of the most impressive feats. 9 different receivers, including a pair of running backs, caught footballs from Justin Herbert. Spread the ball around. Led the Chargers to an underdog upset victory of the Kansas City Chiefs. Justin Herbert
That is not real.
is not real. Sticking with the National Football League, we go to the 20-13 victory of the Las Vegas Raiders over the New England Patriots. No, it is not Geno Smith, although Geno was very good. 24 of 34, 362, a tutty and a pick in that one. Instead, I'm going to give it to Brock Bowers, the tight end. Did pop his knee in that game. Still waiting to find out just how bad it's going to be and how much, if any time, Brock Bowers is going to miss. I have not seen an update on it yet. What I am going to say is Brock Bowers had 5 receptions for 103 yards. The man's a tight end, led all players in that game. Brock Bowers is a dude. He was one of my favorite players coming out of that draft. He remains one of my favorite players from that draft. Raiders tight end Brock Bowers
That is not real.
is not real. We move on as I got my my stuff all shifted around here. 34-32, the Pittsburgh Steelers knock off the New York Football Jets, and I don't know how you give it to anybody but Aaron Rodgers. 22 of 30, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 136.7 rating. He also included a lot of folks. 7 different Steelers caught footballs. And OBT Dubs, he had like 2 drops that would have been 17-plus yard gains in this game. That number honestly could have threatened to get to 300 yards and maybe 5 touchdowns in that game. But on the road against a team that very clearly would have liked to have beaten Aaron Rodgers to prove that they were right, Aaron freaking Rodgers
That is not real.
is not real. What a dub for the former Jets quarterback against the Jets. 21-6, the Washington Commanders knock off the New York Football Giants. There's a handful of dudes that could have won it in this game, but I think I'm going to have to give it once again to Jaden Daniels. Not only did he go 19 of 30 through the air for 233 yards and 1 touchdown, Jaden Daniels also ran 11 times for 68 yards and came remarkably close to 2 more on the ground. I looked at Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who stepped in. Remember, they traded Brian Robinson Jr. out to the 49ers about a week before the season started, meaning Krosky-Merritt stepped into the RB1 spot with not really a full season to get ready and prepare for that. Still ended up 10 totes, 82 yards, and a tutty. But at the end of the day, this was one of those games where you use the pass to set up to the run, and that's why Jaden Daniels
That is not real.
is not real. Rolling on with our NFL TMF INRs to the 17-16 win by the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the first TMF INR going to a losing team. How about Joe freaking Flacco? Listen, he had 2 picks in this game. One of them was the first NHF INT of the year, the not his fault interception of the year.
You got to quit throwing out all these letters, man. It's confusing.
Keep up, baby. Fast and the Furious here. Did I show you the Fast and the Furious card that I drove across the other day? Have I showed you this yet?
You have not.
All right, I'll show you during the break, and then we may have to have a conversation about it. It's the most insane, but also was like, all right, dude, do your thing, live your best life I've ever seen. I came across a dude that had a car, so that I'll just say I think you would appreciate.
Was it a 10-second car? Nice. Very nice.
I'm going to put it on the stream.
You can't do that without being able to drive pretty fast.
No, you got to own that. I'm going to put it on the stream during the break if you want to see what we're talking about. It's the most ridiculous, but also I kind of liked it thing I've ever seen in my life. Joe Flacco, 2 INTs, one of them an NHF, not his fault INT, 31 of 45, 250 yards and a touchdown in this one. Did it on a day where the Browns had just 49 yards rushing, 29 from their leading running back, Dylan Sampson. And again, I've asked the question, I'll ask it again. Outside of David Njoku, name me a Cleveland pass catcher. Just name me one. Most of you cannot do it. And yet, Joe Flacco went out there and found a way to have a day. Hey, Joe Flacco.
That is not real.
23-20, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers knock off the Atlanta Falcons in this one. Michael Penix Jr. was absolutely under consideration. Why wouldn't he be? He ended up with 21 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, which was a pretty spectacular touchdown to keep this game close at the very end. Also had 298 passing yards and 1 touchdown through the air on 27 of 42. It's good numbers. Bijan Robinson's a dog. Not a stellar day on the ground, 12 carries, 24 yards, but out of the backfield, 6 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown, 124 all-purpose yards for Bijan Robinson. He opened the field up. This is one of those TMF INRs that is going to go based on what you did that does not show up on the stat sheet. This is one of those performances that makes me stay firm in the philosophy of if you're not watching the games, you can't break down the games. Bijan Robinson kept defenders sprinting to the sideline to keep him covered up, and it opened up the field for Michael Penix Jr. Bijan Robinson
That is not real.
is not real. Sticking with the National Football League, 17-13, the San Francisco 49ers get the win over the Seattle Seahawks. Brock Purdy, again, I think this is one of the best stat lines for a very pedestrian performance I've ever seen. 26 of 35, 277, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, sacked 1 time for a 12-yard loss. He is not getting the TMF INR award this week. No. Christian McCaffrey is getting the TMF INR award. He got banged up. In fact, they thought, listed as questionable as late as Sunday morning, that he may not be able to go. Instead, McCaffrey ran out there and ran 22 times for 69 nice yards and also had 73 receiving yards in the game. Man's putting up like a lot of all-purpose yards, over 140 of them, kept Brock Purdy's ass alive and upright a number of times. Christian McCaffrey still
That is not real.
is not real. Let's go to the 27-13 win of the Green Bay Packers over the Detroit Lions. I mean, honestly, I could probably just give it to the entire Packers offense here, and I'll keep it a buck. I said a minute ago, Brock Purdy's numbers, 255 with whatever it was, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, great numbers in a pedestrian performance. Exact opposite way around for Jordan Love. The numbers don't necessarily pop off the page at you, but if you watch that game, you know Jordan Love was firmly in control of that game, start to finish. 16 of 22 for a $188 and a pair of throwing touchdowns on the day. Jordan Love also had, if I recall correctly, I think he had like 11 or 12 different Packers who caught footballs in this game, was seeing the field, was delivering a lot of dink and dunk, a lot of short yardage stuff. That's why they only have 188. But that short yardage stuff was keeping the Lions at bay. The only negative was a throw where he hit Alex Anzalone in the chest, and Anzalone just couldn't hang on to what should have been a pick. Doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Doesn't matter. Jordan Love dominated this game. Jordan Love
That is not real.
for the Green Bay Packers is absolutely a dude. 14-9, the LA Rams knock off the Houston Texans. I'm kind of getting tired of getting into quarterbacks, but sometimes quarterbacks are the difference. Matt Stafford, 21 of 29, 245, and a tutty in this one. He also worked in, I think, 9 different receivers in that game for the LA Rams. He was under the gun from the Texans D-line and front 7 for a lot of this game, and yet the composure stayed there. The performance and efficiency stayed there. Matthew Stafford.
That is not real.
Come on, lady, get it together. You got one job. You got one job. 40-41, the Buffalo Bills knock off the Baltimore Ravens in come from behind victory. Let's be honest, you know who this belongs to. Somebody put up the numbers yesterday. Fourth quarter. 215 yards, 3 touchdowns for Josh Allen. He ended the night 33 of 46, 394, 2 touchdowns through the air, 30 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Worked in 11 different wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills. If you didn't watch this game, you missed out because it was one of the most electric football games the NFL has put on for a long time. And it was because of Josh Allen.
That is not real.
Who is indeed not real, ladies and gentlemen. 27-24. I don't know. Do we have one from last night? I kind of want to give it to Caleb Williams, 21 to 35, 211 and a touchdown. Also ran 6. You know what? I am going to give it to Caleb Williams. 2 quarterbacks winning it on losing teams.
Wow.
21 to 35, 211 yards, 1 through the air, ran it for 58 yards. He was the leading rusher for the Chicago Bears as DeAndre Swift have 17 totes for 53 yards. He also worked in 9 different receivers for the Bears last night. I know it was a losing effort. I'm giving it to Caleb Williams because I'm tired of y'all dunking and putting the L on him when it was absolutely not on him. If you think it was on him,
Let me tell you, you don't know ball.
Caleb Williams. I almost said Jaden Daniels. That's a different guy. Caleb Williams.
That is not real.
Wrapping up our NFL INRs. When we come back, let's do the same thing for college football. Outstanding individual performances from the college weekend up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I don't want your life, Dad. Those are your dreams, not mine. James Vanderbeek. That's his name. I was struggling there for a minute. All right, stay right there, dudes. Handing out the first 2025 TMF INR awards. If you're new to the show, that is the
Is not real.
awards where we recognize individual standout performances across the football verse. We have done the NFL. Let's move it over to the college football landscape. The Seminoles of Florida State grabbing some attention. They are now inside the top 10 in the AP poll, coming off a year where they went 2-10. A big part of that reason, Tommy Castellanos, the former Boston College quarterback, transferred in. A lot of question marks. Is he the guy? Can he be the guy? Will he be the guy? He's had two really good games, was very good against Alabama, and this weekend against East Texas A&M. Castellanos, 8 of 11, 237 yards and 3 touchdowns and 8 completions. The Noles were able to pull Castellanos because at that point it was already out of hand. They would actually have 2 more quarterbacks, Kevin Sperry and Brock Glenn, both come in and throw for at least a touchdown. Sperry with a couple of them, Glenn with 1, before they got all the way down to true freshman Michael Grant getting some PT. I don't know how many Florida State passers caught a football. The answer was a lot, and Castellanos was a good chunk of the reason why. Tommy Castellanos making his mark in the ACC so far through 2 weeks.
That is not real.
Is not real. Rolling on with our college performances. Ohio State dumps a 70 burger on Grambling this weekend. The questions were about Julian Sayin. It's fair to have questions about Julian Sayin. It's also fair to say Julian Sayin is answering those questions. I expect you to come out and have a day against Grambling. Julian Sayin did 18 of 19 for 4 touchdowns. The one non-completed pass was a pick for Julian Sayin. It was also at a point in the game where Ohio State, I think, was just kind of like in a groove, was just seeing what was going to click and what wasn't. Jeremiah Smith did have 5 snags for $119 and 2 touchdowns in the game. 4 different Buckeyes caught touchdowns for this team. Lincoln Kineholtz, the backup, did come in and get some play time. 6 of 7, 71 and a touchdown. But Julian Sayin is proven to the people. And like I said, if you're good enough for Nick Saban, you're good enough for college football. Julian Sayin
That is not real.
is not real. Let's go to the 34-0 win of Penn State over FIU. No, it is not Drew Aller, although Aller had an okay day, 19 of 33, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. The day belonged to Katron Allen, 16 carries, 144 yards, including a 67-yard touchdown on the day. Nick Singleton did check in at 13 carries, 76 yards, and a touch. But Katron Allen, if this team is going to be a Big Ten championship team, I think it may have more to do with the legs of Katron Allen than it does the arm of Drew Aller. Katron Allen
That is not real.
for the Nittany Lions. We keep it up. Miami 45-3 winners over Bethune-Cookman in a game that wasn't that close. And again, another quarterback in this one, Carson Beck, 22 of 24, 267 yards and 2 touchdowns. And here's the thing. Miami wasn't really throwing home run balls. They weren't really going for big shots in this one. They had a couple of them, including CJ Daniels. One of his 2 touchdowns went for 40 of his 73 receiving yards. About 15 different Hurricanes caught footballs off the arm of Carson Beck and Emory Williams, the former Florida Gator turned Miami Hurricane. Carson Beck, though, 22 of 24, 267 and a pair of tutties.
That is not real.
Had himself a day. 69-3, Oregon over Oklahoma State. Y'all, I said going in, I kind of like Dante Moore as a dark horse Heisman pick. Dante Moore had himself a day, 16 of 21, 266, and 3 touchdowns in this one. Another team that had about 15 different players catch a football overall, also run a football. Oregon threw the ball 21 times. They ran it 37 for 312 yards. And yet, if you watch this game, Dante Moore still stood out as, Dan Lanning might have found another dude, because Dante Moore
That is not real.
is not a real human being. Let's keep it going. Let's go to Illinois' 45-19 win on the road over Duke. I really thought Duke was going to make this interesting. I really thought Duke was going to maybe be a team, and they may still. I don't know. But we're on the scale of truth. We're leaning more over towards maybe Mike Elko left the closet stocked. It's a little less stocked this year. Part of the reason that Illinois put 45 on the board is because this Luke Altmaier kid is suddenly getting some attention in the Big Ten. 22 of 31, 296, and 3 touchdowns. No Illini player ran for more than 48 yards. Hank Beatty, wide receiver, caught 8 balls for 128 yards, but it's because Luke Altmaier was tossing darts for the Illini last night. Quarterback for Illinois, Luke Altmaier,
is not real.
Is not a real human being. We keep it going with our college football TMFINRs. 24-20, the Mississippi State Bulldogs upset the Arizona State Sun Devils. Arizona State, my pick to win the Big 12. They still can, obviously, but not a great look to go on the road down to Stark Vegas and take the L from a state team that was expected to be at the bottom of the barrel in the Southeastern Conference. Part of the reason Blake Shapen, not a spectacular day in terms of completion percentage, but he did go 19 of 33 for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns against a team that was supposed to have one of the better defenses in the Big 12. Blake Shapen
is not real.
Is not real. Let's keep going with our college football TNFINRs on the road. The mighty Bulls of South Florida go get an 18-16 dub against a top 15 Florida Gator team. Now, if you listened to the show last week, you heard me bring up the name Byram Brown. That's my cousin, y'all. That's my cousin. Byram Brown's a dog. 23 of 36, 263 yards, and a touchdown on the road. He also added 17 carries for 66 yards against that vaunted Florida defense. Byram Brown may have cost Billy Napier his job this weekend because Byram Brown
is not real.
Is not real. 24-13, the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners get the dub over the Michigan Wolverines. And once again, John Mateer is a dog. However, he did not get the TMF INR from this game because sometimes a quarterback puts up numbers with some help. That help came in the form of Deion Burks, wide receiver for Oklahoma. 7 snags, 101 yards, and the only touchdown that Mateer would throw in this game. Mateer probably didn't get it because of the INT. He also ran for 74 yards and a pair of rushing touchdowns, if you keep track. But to me, watching this game, X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's, it's because Deion Burks was – I'm in on John Mateer, for the record. I'm a John Mateer guy. I think Oklahoma might be a playoff team because of John Mateer. He is a dude. Brent Venables might have gotten that one right. Deion Burks controlled this football field like a puppeteer manipulating the strings. Deion Burks
is not real.
Although John Mateer was right there in the back pocket for that award. Let's keep it rolling, shall we? 48-45, the Baylor Bears. Double overtime shock upset of the SMU Mustangs. Y'all, this cat out of Baylor, Sawyer Robertson, might be a dog. He might be a dude. There was talk on the social media over the weekend that perhaps we should start including Sawyer Robertson in the Heisman Trophy discussion. Sawyer Robertson, 34-50, 440 yards and 4 touchdowns against the SMU Mustangs. A front runner, not the front runner, but a front runner in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Sawyer Robertson
is not real.
Is a dude we may want to start paying attention to. Had 2 different receivers over 140 yards in this one. Texas A&M gets the win over Utah State, partly because Marcel Reed was on target. 19 of 28, 223 touchdown passes in this one. He also ran for 66 yards and another one. We talked a lot about the quarterbacks across the Southeastern Conference. DJ Lagway, Lenora Sellers, Ty Simpson, etc. You know who we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about Marcel Reed enough, and we should start right now because Marcel Reed
is not real.
Is not real. Let's keep it rolling. We got a few more games and a few more awards to hand out. 30-23, Ole Miss escapes Kentucky. Why? Because Kawan Lacey is a dog. On the ground, 28 carries for 138 yards, averaged just under 5 yards a carry, did score the rock once on the ground as well. Not an awful day from Austin Simmons, 13 of 24 for 235, including 117 yards to Harrison Wallace. But Austin Simmons got picked off twice in this game. That's why Kentucky was able to make it a game. It was Kawan Lacey who bailed them out, and that's why he
is not real.
Is not real. Let's keep it rolling. Alabama 73-0 over ULM. One of those games you expect. It should be a blowout. You should win this game. However, Ty Simpson, a cat that got chewed out after Alabama got smoked by Florida State last weekend, all he did was turn around and go a perfect 17 of 17 for 226 and 3 touchdowns. You literally can't do better. 17 of 17, 236, 3 touchdowns. Ty Simpson
is not real.
Saying, hey, hold up. Maybe the Crimson Tide ain't the joke some of y'all made it to be. Maybe Florida State is good. We'll find out. 72-17, Tennessee knocks off Eastern Tennessee. The former Appalachian State Mountaineer Joey Aguilar takes over as the quarterback, 23 of 31, 288, and a pair of touchdowns. He had 2 receivers, Chris Brazel and Mike Matthews, go over the century mark. Both of them scored, Brazel twice, Matthews once, but that's because Aguilar was dropping dimes.
That is not real.
Joey Aguilar from the Tennessee Volunteers. How about the Indiana win over whoever they played? I don't even remember. Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback for Indiana. That was the big question. Can Kurt freaking Cignetti?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win.
Get it done after being Googled with a new quarterback in Fernando Mendoza? Well, he can't if Mendoza is going to go 18 of 25 for 245 and 4 tutties through the air. He also rushed 3 times for 20 yards. Fernando Mendoza of the Indiana Hoosiers.
That is not real.
Is not a real human being. And we wrap it up with our final TMF INR to the Texas Tech Red Raiders game we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Behren Morton is a guy you want to pay attention to. 18 of 26, 258, 3 touchdowns. Adam Hill ran it 16 times for 127 yards in this game as well. However, he did not score, came up short a couple of times. I got to give it to Morton with the first honorable mention of the season going to Adam Hill, but Behren Morton from Texas Tech.
That is not real.
Over Kansas. The Red Raiders might be a sleeper team. That might be a team to pay attention to, which would make sense because they are, if I recall correctly, inside the top 2 or 3 teams in terms of NIL spending this year. The Red Raiders decided, you know what, YOLO, we're going all in. We're going to do it. We're not Texas. We're not A&M. We're not Oklahoma. We can't compete with them. You know what we can do? Spend as much money as they do. They got one former player who was like, here's a check for $5 million, spending all on the team. And they did that. Maybe Texas Tech is a sleeper team. When we come back, college football talk. 2 discussions to have. Number 1, Nick Saban in the news claimed NIL and financial support has given the Big Ten an edge over the SEC. Is that true? We're going to talk about that. And James Franklin is still out here lobbying for a college football commissioner. And he kept it a relatively thinly veiled secret about who he wants it to be. We'll hear his quote and address that as well. But before we get there, if we were going to hand out a
that is not real
for sports flashes, it'd just be Lonzo every week.
Wow, that's pressure. I don't know if I can handle that.
Blow it.
The first game of the J.J. McCarthy era in Minnesota ended in a come-from-behind victory over division rival Chicago, 27-24 last night. McCarthy had only 48 first-half passing yards and a pass pick for a touchdown early in the third quarter, but rallied down the stretch to go 13-20 for 143 yards and 2 passing and 1 rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to do so. The Atlanta Braves took game 1 at home against the Cubs yesterday, 4-1. Bryce Elder picked up his 9th win of the year, giving up 5 hits and just 1 run in 6.1 innings, striking out 6. Atlanta had 7 hits on the night, including Matt Olson's 23rd home run of the year and Ozzie Albies' 16th. 49ers announced 2 major injuries yesterday. Tight end George Kittle will miss multiple weeks as he battles a hamstring. Possibly joining him could be starting quarterback Brock Purdy, who is dealing with shoulder and toe injuries. Hour number 4 coming up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, baby. The Rob Brown Show is back. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes of all ages. Spectacular to have you every morning from 6 till 10 a.m. here on the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one, Lonzo. We are having a day. I got 2 college football stories I would like to get into very quickly, and I will lead off with the one brought forward by James Franklin. I have heard this conversation had a multitude of times. Should college football have a commissioner? Should college football have a czar? Should it have a dude like Roger Goodell, Rob Manfred, Gary Bettman, etc., who is in charge? James Franklin says yes, and he has a spin on why.
I think we need somebody in that position that has really good experience on the field, coaching, maybe now in the media, because the media offers some opportunities, right, to get behind the scenes in other programs and be able to compare and contrast. So there's a lot of value there. I do think a commissioner of college football would be good. As you know, Coach Neuheisel, we used to sit in them AFCA meetings, and you'd have a coach that one year was in the SEC and had very strong opinions on what we should be doing for college football. And then the next year they're in the Big 12 and has totally different opinion. And we're supposed to be doing what's best for college football. And it's hard to do that, to take your hat off and say, this is the best thing to do for college football, not for the program that you're representing at the time. And, we see the same thing in politics in our country, right? People are voting in terms of what's best for their state, and not always necessarily what's in the best of our country.
So I had some reactions to that. The first one is he's not wrong. And this is why I've always said, like, a wider group of voices in the room is almost always better. Now, I understand the philosophy that at the end of the day, you can have 100 voices in the room, but you got to have one guy that pulls the trigger on a decision, right? Like, you got to have the one guy. Not everything, as much as it would be wonderful, not everything can be parliamentary. Sometimes you just got to have a guy who goes, all right, I've heard everything you've had to say, and this is what we're going to do. Because team A, team B, group A, group B, party A, party B, they, even if you're in a great spot, maybe willing to compromise, but like not that much. Sometimes you just got to have a guy that pulls the trigger. And I don't think that it is requiring an FBI agent to figure out he's talking about Nick Saban, right? Like, clearly he's like, oh, good coach, a lot of success, but also a guy who's been in the media. So he's kind of been behind the scenes in all the places and not just one. And that's fine. I get that Nick Saban's kind of the run-to, go-to guy. Here's the problem that I have. The problem that I have is I don't think Nick Saban, and I could be wrong about this, but just based on the things I've heard Nick Saban say, the discussions Nick Saban has had about where college football is and where it's going, he doesn't like it. And the problem is it's too far snowballed to stop it. Now it is about controlling it, right? Like, the momentum is there. It's already on the way. Now it's about how do we keep it within a controlled manner as it rolls down the hill. And I don't know that we're going to get that answer from Nick Saban. Again, I've already pointed out, my belief, Nick Saban quit because he didn't want to deal with the new landscape of college football. I don't think Nick Saban just woke up and was like, hey, I don't like coaching football anymore. I don't think Nick Saban just woke up and was like, you know what I'd like? I'd like to spend time with Miss Terry. I mean, I'm sure he does every day. Wake up and say, I'd like to spend more time with with Miss Terry, which, respect. I get it. Me too. Not with Miss Terry, with my wife. You get the point. But I don't think he woke up one day and said, I don't like football anymore. I don't like coaching football anymore. I think Saban woke up and he said, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I think he woke up, and in the other story that we are going to get to, Nick Saban said that he believes that the inclusion of NIL, this is from an article from On3 Sports, that because of NIL And because of financial support, which the Big Ten has some incredible fan bases, that the Big Ten now has an edge over the Southeastern Conference. He said, quote, I think that the SEC was the SEC because of the culture in the South. There wasn't professional football in the South for a long time, and everybody related to the colleges. Well, now that doesn't matter. I mean, kids grew up wanting to go to LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. They got money now. They don't mind going to Ohio State. They don't mind going to other places. So that geographic advantage that the Southeastern Conference may be changing a little bit now with the different culture, with NIL and the money involved in decision-making, I think that's created a bit of an edge for the Big Ten. Let me be real clear about something. I do not think, as somebody who has bias on the table for the sake of the discussion, I have never lived in Ohio. I've never lived in Michigan. I've never lived anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon. I've been there many times, including for a number of football games across the other side of the Mason-Dixon. What I can tell you is I do think there is some, not a dramatic, not a consequential. I do think there is some level of truth in what Nick Saban is saying, but I also think it's dated. I think that was probably more true dating back to like the 70s, 80s, 90s than it is the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. I think the issue for Nick Saban, by and large, was the fact that with NIL, what happened for years at Alabama, or let's say at least was suspected, but we have some pretty good evidence to believe happened at Alabama. You know, the whole $500 handshake thing. The reason that if you showed up to the football parking lot on any given day in the fall, it was full of Dodge Chargers. Like, I don't think just every player on the team was like, yeah, no, Dodge Chargers definitely. And also, by the way, if they weren't getting paid, how the hell they'd afford a Dodge Charger? But that's a different discussion that Nick doesn't want to have. And I get it. I wouldn't either. And now you don't have that exclusivity anymore. A $500 handshake once a month and a Dodge Charger isn't enough to get a kid to go, yeah, SEC.
So it sounds like an excuse. And as someone who witnessed some of those handshakes, even on a D3 level in Ohio, the money wasn't just in the South. It sounds like an excuse for why the SEC is not as dominant as it has been.
Hang on. If that is an excuse, then that is a reason that the Big Ten should not have been as behind in the SEC as it was up until recent memory.
It wasn't, though. Look at national championships for the last 40 years. I mean, who comes out on top? What conference comes out on top?
I don't know the totals. I
thought you knew ball. I mean, you should just know right away.
I know ball. I don't know what happened in 1984.
You're just stats guy. Come on.
Yeah, I don't have them memorized. That's the problem with being stats guys. I have to remember a bunch, and I'm very dumb. So
if it was a baseball stat, you probably would remember.
Let's see. But I think the point is whether or not you make fun of the
because last time I checked, Ohio State and Michigan won a lot of national titles, and throughout time. So it's not.
For the record,
the SEC.
And this is going to be one of those times where I'm disrespectful. I don't care about throughout time. Let's talk about the last 30 years. Let's talk about what matters.
Let's skew the number up because it will make your point.
No, what happened? It's like the Bear Bryant discussion all over again. This is like somebody who used to take a horse to work telling me what the best way to set up a traffic system is.
It just sounds like an excuse is what it sounds like. And I'm not being Big Ten guy here, but I guess I have to be as someone who did live in Ohio. It sounds like an excuse. It does. So what he's saying is, we can't compete because we don't have the money. So the SEC is going to be second place going forward.
No, I think he just says that if the primary decision making.
Last I checked, and I could be wrong, I think Texas spent more money this year than Ohio State did, and Ohio State was not number one in money last year either. It was an SEC team. So it's just not true.
I do not know because I haven't, and I'll in fact I'll make a note to do the total research.
We talked about it last year whenever Ohio State is buying a national championship, and they were not number one. I believe, if I recall,
for the record, Texas got the same crap. They just didn't win it.
I believe it was Texas last year.
Correct.
And it was Texas.
They took the same criticism.
It's Texas this year.
Let's not pretend they didn't take the same heat.
Last I checked, they're an SEC school.
I understand.
And spent more money, but did not win the championship.
I don't disagree. I think what he's saying is overall. And again, I'm not even saying I agree with him.
Money can't buy you love.
I think
and it can't buy you championships.
I think the point that it first off, and this is, I guess, the penultimate spot that you and I have always disagreed on. All that matters to you is wins. That's it. That's all that matters to you.
That's not true.
All that matters to me is all the context that goes into who wins and who loses and why. I care about the why, not just the what. So to me, I think what Nick is saying here is, and I do think, for the record, because I don't agree with him, just so we're on the same page about that. I think the point that I think it's the same reason Nick left college football, because I do think that there was, before NIL, I do think that even if money was changing hands in places like the Big Ten, I think the SEC it was rampant, and I think it was known about, and I think people largely across the South looked at it, went, that okay, that's what we do. That's how we win. Like, that is what it is. All of that being put aside, the point here, to go back to the James Franklin discussion that started all of this, the point for me is, even if we do want to have a commissioner, and I do not think that matters yet, because once again, we arrive in a spot where we have to say, okay, if you, like the NFL, want to have a commissioner, one guy at the controls who listens to everybody. He listens to the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, the Pac-2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? He listens to the group of 5. He listens to the independents. He listens to Notre Dame. He listens to the military academies. He listens to the fans. He listens to the players. He listens to the sponsors. He listens to the TV networks. And he's got to take all that information, put it all into a pile, come up with what's best for college football at large. Great. My first question is, how would he answer the question, what's best for college football? Who are we talking about when we say college football, right? Like, that's what I need elaboration on. Are we talking about the profitability of college football? Because again, we are at a point in time where, yes, I'm going to go weird, philosophical, political here. We're at a point in time where in a lot of industries, it has become abundantly clear to a lot of people that making money matters more than people. And that's just where we are. That's the ultimate result of late stage capitalism, the war cry of this show. Even in sports, that is the ultimate result of unchecked, unregulated capitalism. Is it gets to a point where money matters
For those of you
more.
on radio and not watching the stream, my eye roll hurt me.
I mean, it doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make me wrong.
It does. I won't fight, though.
Unchecked.
I've already proved it. The thing you're talking about has never happened. So
what thing I've talked
the
about?
late stage capitalism and failure and all, it's never, ever happened.
That's a subjective reality. It's just to fight it over an opinion. But what I do think I can say is, when you get to a point, as college football has, the changes in college football have been made exclusively and primarily and exclusively, I should flip those adjectives around, primarily and exclusively because the people in charge of making decisions cared more about the money. NIL is happening because the players wanted money and because the folks in charge of college football went, well, we got to keep them happy, so they keep making the product that makes us money. The reason that television channels, there's 1,000 of them that cover college football games, are because they all want the money, and all the people in the college football decision-making office said, how can we get more? All right, we put more places, more products in more places. That's just the reality. So when you say, James Franklin, what's best for college football? Do you mean the profitability of it? Do you mean for the programs individually? Do you mean for the conferences at large? Do you mean for the fans? Because I can go ahead and tell you, the decisions that would be made that are best for the fans would take a lot of zeros off of a lot of paychecks. And it turns out, historically speaking, that when people have a lot of zeros on a lot of paychecks, they don't tend to give it up for the betterment of anybody or anything else. So is it for fans? Because then that czar is going to have to go against the people who made him the czar. And if he says, I'm going to do that, do you think they're going to make that guy the czar? Probably not. So that doesn't really work either. What does that mean? Because this is one of those things. This is it's one of the things that drives me up a bleeping wall every election season, is the number of politicians who get on a stage and they get a mic and they say, if you vote for me, I will lower your property tax. Great. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean our schools are going to suffer? Does that mean that our roads are going to suffer? If you're going to take that money off the table, you have to tell me in the budget where that money's going to go from. But they don't do that. They just say, I'm going to lower your property taxes. And we all go, great, I would love to pay less money. Of course I would. But what they don't tell you is where that's coming from out of the budget. And I got to see that whole picture before I go, yeah, I'm going to go with you as the guy who makes that decision. So who is it best for? And what does that mean? And how do we handle it? The reality is there is one way and one way alone. I've been on this hill for a long time, and I'm not coming off of it because, again, I'm right. There is one way and one way alone, and only one way that you are going to end up at a spot where you can have a college football commissioner who pulls the strings. You have to unionize. You have to make it a place of employment. You have to make the NCAA, you have to make college football a company. Then you can have a CEO, because that's what it is. Roger Goodell is the CEO of the NFL. Now, he works for the NFL franchise owners. He works for owners. They are the stockholders and the owners. He works for them. But him being the one that makes the decisions about the day-to-day operations only happens because the players have a union and said, yes, we agree to these terms and these powers that you have installed in your office and nothing else. And he can't color outside those lines. You'd have to have the same thing. It's not an option. It's a mandate. Texter said, would you rather have Nick Saban or Josh Pate as the CFBs are? I'd rather have Josh Pate. I really would. I'd rather have Josh Pate. Here's the problem, and I love Josh Pate. Told this to his face. I love Josh Pate. The problem is Josh Pate loves college football as a fan. And the powers that be, those that have those paychecks with a lot of zeros in it, they are absolutely not ever going to allow someone to have authority over them who wants college football to be better for the fans. Because better for the fans means less money for them, and they're not going to stand for that. You know it, and I know it. It's an unfortunate, painful reality. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, one more live and we're back. Stay right there for me, please. And thank you. of times. On Sunday, BY was a problem. He was nowhere near good enough. Like at all. Nowhere near good enough. His performance was underwhelming. It was the worst he's looked in 8 or 9 games. We saw the upward trajectory at the end of last year. And unfortunately, it looks like it regressed a little bit during the offseason. Again, it's one game. And as I said yesterday, it is the reason that I was quite upset with the decision of Dave Canales not to play the starters more in the preseason. Because remember, Canales said he was going to do that. In fact, in the opening preseason game, going into that game, Dave Canales said the starters are going to play 2 quarters in each of the first 2 games. And in game number 1, I think if I recall correctly, they played like 2 drives and then they got yanked. And the reason it kind of bothered me a bit was because I do not understand how, when you know you were in the process of revamping the offense, not changing it, but revamping it, when you know that you've got a new number 1, which even before the Adam Thielen trade, a new number 1 also meant that you now have, by default, a new number 2 and a new number 3. Thielen moves to 2, Leggett, Coker moved to 3, et cetera, et cetera. Why would you not give them as many reps as you can? And I understand you didn't want to lose anybody to injury, but you came into this year, even if Dave Canales believed, as I believed preseason, that this team is ready to compete for the division. I don't think anybody had Super Bowl aspirations for this team yet. And so if you came into this year without Super Bowl aspirations, you're not Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City. You're not any of those teams. Unless you're one of those teams, why would you not want your starters to get as many healthy reps as they can get? And I think that shined through on Sunday because the offense, including the offensive line, was out of sorts. Remember, one of the highlights of this offense, one of the reasons that a lot of people, including myself, were very high on this team was because they have an offensive line that is expected to be one of the best 10 in the league. I have said I wouldn't be shocked at the end of the year to see the Carolina Panthers with an offensive line as high as one of the best 5 in the National Football League. And if they have a top 5 offensive line and Chuba Hubbard back there with Tedero McMillan, and again, you passed up on a not what you wanted, but pretty good deal from Arizona who wanted that kid, which also tells me, by the way, because they've done pretty well evaluating receivers, that you got a dude. Why would you not take more snaps? Now, that's not the conversation I want to have. The conversation I want to have is that yesterday I was listening to a host in North Carolina talking about this team who said, what do we do about Bryce Young? What do we do? He put the entire blame of this game on Bryce Young, as if Xavier Leggett wasn't a problem. He was. As if the offensive line wasn't a problem. He was. As if the run defense in this game wasn't a problem. It was. Put it all on BY. And he said, what do we do about Bryce Young? And I want to answer that question for this individual. The answer is not a damn thing. Nothing. He's playing all 17 games this year. And here's why you're playing all 17 games last year. Because we have to find out. And by we, I mean Dave Canales and Dan Morgan. We have to find out which Bryce Young is real. Is the last 7 games of last year, including the last 3 games where he went 7 tutties, no picks, real? Is the Bryce Young who finished last year and looked real good in the process the real Bryce Young? Or is the Bryce Young for the first half of last year who got benched for Andy Dalton? Is the Bryce Young who played this Sunday and looked like he didn't know what was going on the real Bryce Young? Which of those 2 is the real BY? And there's only one way to find out, which is to play him all 17 games. There is no point at all to putting Andy Dalton on the field this year. None. Unless Bryce Young is just hurt and cannot play, there is no reason for anyone not named Bryce Young to start a single game at quarterback because he is either your future or he's not at that position. Nobody on this roster is. Andy Dalton is not your future. And I don't think there's anybody else down to your practice squad. If nobody was capable of beating out Andy Dalton, as much as I love the Red Rifle, if nobody was capable of beating Andy Dalton, your future QB is not on this roster.
I
Unless
just
it's
want to
Bryce
point out
Young.
you said Andy Dalton. I can't let that go.
Miami Dolphins. It's Andy Dolphin.
But there could be someone that they could trade for, maybe.
There is not a franchise quarterback you're trading for.
Not necessarily a franchise quarterback, but a quarterback that to get you a couple.
I don't want that.
To get you to next year's draft.
I don't want that. Either BY's the guy or he's not. And if he's not the guy, I'll take as close to the number 1 pick as I can get next year, please and thank you. Because it's a good crop. Good. I'm not going to say great, but it's a good crop of quarterbacks available next year. It's a deep crop of quarterbacks available next year. If we're going to be drafting a quarterback because BY's not the guy, then send them out there, take the L's, and get as close to number 1 so you have as many of the quarterbacks as you can get to possibly pick from. Because right now, it looks like Miami's drafting a quarterback next year. And right now, it looks like Miami's going to have the number 1. So you're already probably going to see right now. Wait. Garrett Nussmeier.
They're both 0-1. So how can you say that right now?
Which of those two teams is better with 16 games left to play? Which of those two teams would you trust to stumble into a couple of wins?
I'm biased, so I'm going to go with Panthers.
Correct.
But still, historically, and at least according to Tyreek Hill, the most accurate quarterback dwells in Miami. So they're going to recover.
Maybe. But also, based on what we saw in week 1, if you ask me which of those two teams do I think it's more likely accidentally falls into 4, 5, 6 wins, it's Carolina, not Miami. Well, we'll see. Maybe Mike gets it right. I don't know. But we played that clip from him earlier, and he doesn't sound good.
Which division is weaker?
I mean, the NFC South is weaker. It's a weaker division, I would argue. Especially, again, maybe it's because the Colts were playing the Dolphins, but the Colts look good. I don't think the Texans are bad. And I think the Jags,
lost, though, so.
They did lose. But I also think they also lost to a team that a lot of people have as a dark horse bet to be in the Super Bowl from the NFC this year. They lost to a good Rams team. So, blah, 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 blah. All that being said, I'm playing Bryce all 17 games. I don't care if he sucks the suckiest we've ever seen a quarterback play. I will take as close to the 1 pick because if Bryce isn't the guy, there's not a guy on this roster that is. If none of the young cats could beat out Andy Dalton for a spot or QB2, none of them are the future. Bryce Young is, or somebody in the draft next year is. That's it. Those are the only 2 options. So the answer is, I'm playing BY all 17 games. Do not get to week 3 or 4 and he's still struggling and you go, we're going to put Andy Dalton out there. What's the point? Again, are any of you as Panther fans, if you send out Andy Dalton and he wins you 3 or 4, are any of you going to call it a remarkably more successful year than winning 1 or 2 and having a top 3 draft pick? No, you're all going to say what an abysmal year.
Last time I checked, 4 is twice as much as 2.
And it accomplishes what for you?
It still stinks, but it's better than 2.
How is it better? Yeah, we're 4 and 13. No, not in terms of numerical value. I'm saying at the end of the year, you're a Carolina Panther fan, and you're 4 and 13 instead of 2 and 15. In what way is that better? Are you getting T-shirts printed? Hey, at least we won more than 2. No, you're not hanging a banner. You're not hanging a flag. We're not talking about it in any other capacity than we actually could have been drafting 2nd, and now we're drafting 6th. That's bad. That's a bad thing. It's a bad thing if it is because you don't have a need a franchise quarterback. So I'm playing them all 17, and here's what I'm hoping. What I'm hoping, for the sake of optimism, is that Bryce Young by week 3 looks like the dude that he looked like in week 16 last year, 17 last year, 18 last year. What I'm hoping is I'm going to throw him out there.
Did they win all those games?
No, but it wasn't because Bryce Young looked bad, was it?
Okay. So putting Andy Dalton in there would have been the same result. Because there would have been no wins.
Do you remember a couple of minutes ago when I said you only care about wins and losses and I care about the context within them? This is what I'm talking about. This right here.
You're right. And I also explained how I'm a fan and you're a stats guy.
Correct.
So,
my philosophy makes the team better. Yours lets you go, we won the 2 games. Dude, which of those is better?
The team being better and still losing doesn't matter in the end. The win matters.
That's what I'm saying. No, the win is irrelevant.
Rob.
4 wins in a football season.
You're on sports radio saying that a win is irrelevant.
To the long-time future of a franchise, yes. A win in a 4-win season is, in fact, I'll even go further. For the long-term development of a franchise in a 4-win season, the wins are detrimental to not to your random Sunday in November happiness because I'm a fan. To the long-term development of a franchise, Every win in a 4-13 season is bad for you. It's bad for you.
Someone should meme the thing you just did.
Meme away. I'm still right. Make sure you put my quote on the bottom so that people know, oh, he's got a point. Even if he looks like an idiot, he's got a point. And I do, but I also do. All right, the answer is you play Bryce Young all 17 games. If he sucks, you suck. You draft a quarterback higher next year. If he doesn't suck and it just took a game or two to get the offense clicking, bang, you got your franchise quarterback, and now we know where we need to work outside of that. This isn't complicated. You don't need to overcomplicate this. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Drinky poo. I'm so sorry I said drinky poo.
You
hanging out with my nephew too much.
absolutely said drinky
Been hanging
poo.
out with the nephew too much. Be right back. Wolf. The Rob Brown son of a gun.
2-1.
Ugh. Not great, Bob. Not great. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio, the fan upstate. Rob Brown, the great Malonzo, and wrapping up our Tuesday edition of the radio broadcast. If you want in, now's the time. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. Jump on board. We will read your text. We will take your calls. Got a couple more things that I wanted to get into around the National Football League and around college football here for just a few minutes. The SEC has fined Mississippi State $500,000 for storming the field after their upset of Arizona State this past weekend. My question is not about the field storming. I mean, that's just the thing that happens. Again, I don't know that. I hope that there is never a spot where an opposing player or coach is injured or assaulted during a storming. I think most people who storm the field are so caught up in the celebration that they don't think that. I have stormed courts and fields.
There have been tramplings, not of the players or coaches,
right,
but of other fans. So, I mean, it's dangerous. Find them even more. Make it stop. It's not necessary.
So my question mark here is, if we are going to do this, remember the ACC has already handed out their first fine. They did so to Florida State after Florida State upset Alabama in week 1. Now the SEC has handed out a $500,000 fine. I think Florida State's was like $50K, and then it goes to 100, and then 2, and it just doubles up to, I think the max is 500.
Well, it obviously means more in the SEC.
Yeah,
so
for
they
sure.
have to charge a little bit more.
Yeah, even the court storming, field storming means more. My question is, if it does get to a point where a school says this has to stop, right? Like we know what Clemson is doing in order to keep their post-game tradition of gathering at the Paw alive. Basically, they make announcements in the stadium. You could actually hear them on the broadcast during the last 2 home games against LSU and Troy. They basically say, hey, look, listen, we're going to open the field for you. You can come down here. But what we need you to do is wait in your seats until after the alma mater. They use that as the buffer to get the away team off the field. That's not really the same as...
So you're not storming. You're in an orderly fashion meeting on the field.
Yeah, and this is why when they made that announcement at ACC Media Days, like I pointed out at the time, well, Clemson doesn't really storm the field. Is there going to be language carved out for them? And the answer was yes, they did. My question is, if storming does one day become something that a school goes, we can't have this anymore, how far do they go to make it stop? Does it get to the point where they start having fans arrested? Does it get to the point where they start, and this is one that the NFL has done over the years, where they start banning you from the stadium? Like, oh, you're a diehard, you've been coming for a bunch of years, but you stormed the field, we told you not to. You're banned from Starkville.
Well, we have stadiums where the roof can come back. Why not have walls that come up at the end of the game? So that they can't, I mean, they'll still try to climb over the walls, but if you raise them and they have glass on them, like it's hockey, and raise them up about 15 feet.
I mean, I think at that point,
that'd be really cool. I think.
I think you're asking for a very expensive sci-fi solution that, and maybe it costs less than $500,000.
Yeah, I mean, take that money and go build some
but
walls.
Also, there are spots where, like, all right, what are you going to do in front of the tunnels where the players come in and out? Are you going to build this thing into the ground? If so, how do you do that in a way that's safe for everybody that gets on and off the field? I think there's a lot more to it than just like, here's a great idea. I don't disagree. Cool, like raise a hockey board around at the outside.
Well, you
put nets down.
You place gunmen on the end.
Yeah, snipers. That's how we do it.
There we go.
That's how we do it. How do we handle court storming? Snipers.
It was a joke, people. I don't want anyone to be shot.
So I do wonder down the line if this does become a problem, if it gets to the point where the SEC is repeatedly handing out, $1 million fines to schools, with money having the elevated impact and importance that it has now more than ever in college football. Does there come a point where schools start, I was about to say taking out their own fans, but Post Alonso suggesting snipers for field stormers. I better change that language.
I meant rubber bullets. I mean, come on.
Is there a point where schools start saying, yeah, no, you don't go to this school anymore. Do they start expelling students? Do they start banning football fans from coming into stadiums? Like, how do you handle
harsh
that?
punishments are how you make a point, but at the same time, you got to make sure everyone knows that you did that.
I don't disagree. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a fair question to ask. I think it's a fair discussion to have. So I don't know. I'm interested in the long-term results of what that means. A couple of NFL stories before we get to the end of the show. We have talked extensively today about the 27-24 victory of the Minnesota Vikings over the Chicago Bears last night. If you've missed it, thefanupstate.com. The entire show is podcasted and posted shortly after the conclusion of the show. All 4 hours edited down for your listening pleasure. Go to thefanupstate.com, download it, and listen to it on demand. So we won't go back into that game. Instead, I'll give you some of the other news and notes that have come out. George Kittle out for a number of weeks, has a hamstring injury sustained in their win over the Seahawks this weekend. But the more interesting story out of San Francisco, and certainly a very impactful one, I assume, for a number of you that may be playing fantasy football, Brock Purdy may be out this weekend as the San Francisco 49ers prepare to take on our New Orleans Saints. Brock Purdy dealing with both shoulder and toe injury. The toe injury is more severe, but that is all that we know about it so far. We don't know what the injury is: strain, sprain, bruise, broken, or death toe. We'll find out, but Brock Purdy may be out this weekend. The Philadelphia Eagles have made their 5th trade dating back to mid-August. They traded a 5th and a 6th rounder in next year's NFL draft in return for Jacksonville's Tank Bigsby. Bigsby ran for over 760 yards and 7 touchdowns last year for the Jags, but with ETN looking as good as he did in the win over Carolina this weekend, they've decided the picks more important than the running back depth. The Eagles did not pick him for running back depth. The Eagles picked him because he has been a very good kick returner the last couple of years. In fact, last year averaged over 37 yards per return, which is a stupid number. My bet Philly's going to take Will Shipley off of kick return duty, implement and utilize him a little bit more in the offense behind and around Jalen Hurts, and Tank Bigsby will get the kickoff return responsibilities for Philadelphia. The New York Giants will stick at least for one more week with Russell Wilson. It is still Jackson Dart, not Jackson Start. Russell Wilson, 17 of 37, $168, no touchdowns, no picks in their loss this weekend. Ineffective under pressure, 2 of 12 for 26 yards with 2 sacks and 2 scrambles. While under pressure, New York managed just 231 yards of total offense, installed twice in the red zone. They and the Dolphins at the bottom of offensive production in week number 1. It was only 1 game for Russell Wilson, but I have to imagine the leash is very short for Russell Wilson there in New York. Justin Blackmon, safety for the Saints, likely out for the year with a shoulder injury that may require surgery. They will have more details on that coming up later on this week. So there you have it, some of the big news and notes on the injury front out of the National Football League. We will, of course, tomorrow on Wednesday, turn the page to week 3 of the college football season and week 2 of the National Football League season.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to find out what the X is going on. I just saw something. I was trying to check it. And what is today? Well, yes, it is true. All right, Adam Sandler is Xing. I just gave away why when
I'm assuming it's his birthday.
It is.
Is it like, I don't like a lot, maybe most of his stuff, but the stuff that I do like, I love, right? Like some of his stuff, I was like, all right, it's a little much for me, a little over the top for me. But the stuff that he did that I really do like, I love. Billy Madison, love it. Happy Gilmore, obviously love it. I loved Happy Gilmore too, Judge Away. Favorite
Judge Away, it was good.
A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people did not like it at all.
It set records on Netflix.
I don't disagree. Still, a lot of people didn't like it. Here is the question of the day for me.
By the way, he's 59.
What's the best Adam Sandler Saturday Night Live character? I have a runaway favorite for myself. Opera Man. I freaking love Opera Man. Opperman was always just phenomenal for me.
I would say when he and Spade and when
Chris Farley
when they dressed up as girls.
Yeah.
I just thought that was hilarious.
I'm starving.
Exactly right. You took away two things that I had on this, but I'm going to do them anyway because different angles on them. The first one is Will Shipley.
Will Shipley Xing because I assume of the Tank Bigsby trade. Again, I don't think this means that he is going anywhere.
Here's what they're saying. Best running back room in the NFL.
I would have to agree. It's certainly the deepest. It's certainly you got Saquon Barkley at the top. You have the best running back in the NFL. And then I would make the argument that you have the deepest collection of running. I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
All right. The next thing that's Xing that was also talked about earlier, but here's a different angle on it, is Bryce Young.
Bryce Young Xing because people are starting to, I assume.
You haven't seen the videos, apparently, because
I knew what you're talking about. There's a video of Bryce Young during a timeout standing by himself in the middle of the field while the Jags do a helmet shuffle up on the Jumbotron. And while it is not 100% conclusive, it damn sure looks a lot like Bryce Young is looking up at the helmet shuffle and playing along while the team is in a timeout. And even I, defender of my special baby boy, Bryce Young, even I will say that's a real bad look. That's a bad look, BY. In that game, that's a bad. If you're up 24, whatever.
So maybe he has the same problem a fellow 6-footer has in Arizona, and he's a video game addict. Could be.
It might be.
It could.
It might be.
Trust me, as one myself, I recognize that. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Stephanie Vacour.
Trending because she's Steph. She's the best. She's the GOAT.
Trending because they're not using her.
They're not. And again, like I want to.
She does have a title shot at WrestlePalooza.
Exactly.
But
which is only 11 days away?
It's on my birthday, actually, on September 20th.
Yeah.
So
my thought there would be, though, if she has a title shot, like you don't need to do a lot, but you need to do something. Like give the people what they want. We want more Stephanie Vaquer on our TV. That's what we want. That's what the people want. Give it to us, Triple H. Do better.
I completely agree.
Do better.
We need more of that because she's an excellent wrestler, and that's the only reason.
The only reason.
Right. We love to see
great wrestlers.
The new excellence of execution, yes. Stephanie Vacour.
Yes.
All right. And finally, the last thing that's Xing is Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell Xing because the Vikings got their week 1 win last night in that Monday Night Football game. Again, I've said it a number of times. The takeaway for me, the Vikings are not as good as you're giving them credit for, and the Bears are not as bad as you are labeling them after that game. That being said, the Vikings in the fourth quarter look like a totally different team.
All right. The reason why he's Xing is apparently he gave a really good post-game speech, and he's famous for that.
I will say this. Kevin O'Connell is one of my favorite NFL coaches. Go find any locker room video of him.
It looks like he's like 25.
It looks like a young guy. My favorite video from last year in the NFL in its entirety was when Sam Darnold had himself that one game where he went for like 370 and 3 touchdowns, and it came in, and O'Connell was ready to give a speech, and Darnold came in. The locker room lost it. They picked up Darnold. They were like parading him around the room, and Kevin O'Connell just slinks back to the back of the room, and he leans against the wall, and he crosses his arm, and he just watches it. He looks like a proud dad in that moment. I'm like, that's a guy who cares about his team, and there's not enough of those guys. That's it for us. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, it's because you got bad taste in radio. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again, and we will try to be better. Have a great day. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later.
You like that? You like that?
Hanging on to that the entire show.
I was going to do, here's live footage from JJ McCarthy, but then I forgot to. All right, people, we got to jet because I got a bunch of stuff to do. I appreciate you being here. You're all amazing people. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, Austin. More times before.
About what?
My birthday.
Oh, yeah, September 20th.
Yeah.
Same day as WrestlePalooza.
Well, he just said happy early birthday. I was responding to that.
We'll talk about it. WWE's throwing Lonzo a brand new pay-per-view just for his birthday.
Yeah, but they're doing it while I'm working. But still.
Well, I mean, can't win them all. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye.